Call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee for March 27, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for everyone for joining. Thank you everyone at home for watching. A couple reminders, make sure you put your cell phones on silent. And this meeting is being broadcast by SMAC and recorded for future viewing on the internet. All right, all that being said, we're ready to start this here on the budgets and articles.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I have a request from the committee. It'll help with our secretary taking notes. If you would allow me to make the motions on the articles, and it'd be nice to have the same second, but it makes it easier to track and keep track of the votes so when we get the minutes. And so if you'd give me that courtesy, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And the second point, if I might suggest, it's up to you. I think we should be able to go through all the articles first and then do the budget. If you would, I think it might be easier just to get through the articles and then take the budget on. That's just a suggestion.
All right, thank you very much. I like that suggestion a lot. Mark, did you want to be the second on that? Okay, perfect.
Excuse me, Vaughn.
Yes, Mr. Lurie.
Yeah, there's a motion on the table, so I just want to know how you want to dispose of the motion. Did you want to work on it? Did you want to just push it off until some unknown date? Like
Which motion are you referring to?
Motion that was last week, which was supposed to be handled on either Wednesday night or Thursday. But it was the motion that I brought to you.
If I recall the motion, Mr. Anderson talked to you about tabling it until after all the 25 stuff was done. I went back and actually watched the video.
If I may, through you, Vaughn, it was Joel sitting in this seat right here and said we can go over all the motions on Thursday, but then after the meeting, you canceled Thursday's meeting?
The tabling of the motion, Eric had said, Dave, would you be willing to table this to after all the 25 business is done? And Dave said, oh, okay, as long as we don't do it after 10:30. That was the tabling.
No, the understanding was that it was going to be the public hearings were done, not the actual voting of the in closed session.
And I think I see Eric agreeing. Thank you so much, Eric.
That actually was my intention. I at least wanted to be able to close out the hearing since we had guests here to present and take questions and things like that. So I didn't want to put that portion of our meeting off anymore. And then, yeah, I agreed with Joel that, we'd happily sit and go through them the next night. I will not complain about having the night off Thursday, though, because that was kind of nice. I'm happy to consider the motion. I just wanted time, like I said the other night, time to actually be able to consider it. And understand a little further what you were trying to accomplish with it before I felt I could really vote on it, if that made sense.
Can I ask if the motion is anything that's listed on the agenda?
It's a motion that was on the table.
I'm asking if the motion is pertinent to anything on this agenda that we hear tonight.
Yeah, free cash policy is important to the whole town.
All right, there's nothing on here to talk about free cash policy. Nothing.
Excuse
And
me.
the free cash policy was going to be for what, 26? That's not on the agenda. And I would ask that be ruled out of order.
Excuse me?
No, I won't excuse you. I'm talking.
I'm just trying to, I understand.
If it's not included on the agenda, you're not supposed to bring it up.
I'll wait my turn.
Well, the point was that I sent you an email right after the meeting to ask that you distribute the information so that we'd be able to take care of it. Nothing went out to anybody.
And my understanding
was that you would take care of this.
My understanding was it was to be taken up after all 25 business was done. I went back and watched the video to confirm this. Yes, Lisa.
Okay, thank you. So I'm reading our Finance Committee handbook, And whether or not it's on the agenda, our job is to actually recommend policy, not only for this fiscal year we're working on, but for the upcoming, because it's our job to represent to town meeting where we're going. So it's always understood to be on an agenda, because it is our job every time we're together to be doing this.
It's not always understood to deviate from the agenda regardless of that, though. I mean, just because it's in our responsibilities, as you might say.
If I could refer you to page 15, 16, and 17 in the Finance Committee handbook, you will see it.
I'm very familiar with the book. Thank you.
Well, Vaughn, could I just ask you then, if you were ignoring what we asked you from last week, and you're ignoring me now, how long are you going to ignore the topic?
I'm not going to ignore the topic. We're going to finish with 25, and then we will cover the topic. There's no intent to ignore your discussion on this policy that you're talking about.
We had an...
I went back to watch the video.
Yeah, but why didn't you then email me and say, Dave, we're going to take care of this after the hearings? Because I watched it on Smack, and I saw that you just didn't understand the exact text of what was being said. So
we'll cover it after we get done with our 25 visits.
You didn't feel a courtesy to do that, so I'm guessing that it's an indefinite point in time.
Well, I'm very sorry for that, Mr. Lurie, that I didn't reply to your email, but I did go back and watch the video. My understanding of the tabling was it would be taken up after 25. We're still handling the 25 issues.
All right, I guess what I'll just expect in the future is
It will be on the agenda in the future.
to have a response when I put a question to you that's
Okay.
easy to answer, especially when you already knew that you had an answer for me now. You could have said the same thing to reply to my email. You already knew, apparently, that something nobody else knew. So,
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on with the articles. Mr. Anzavino, did you want to start that process that you discussed?
Yeah, pardon me.
The first article assigned to the Finance Committee is
Yeah,
Article
and
3.
That's what I have my list here, because I want to make sure I don't ask for anything that's not on our assignments. I had them right here. Here we go. Let me unclip it from my... I will check that off as well. Come out. You can't operate the clip, I guess. Open, close. Unbelievable. Tough to get old, you know. All right. So, as you said, based on our assignment list, Article 3, which is on page 1 of the warrant. Unfortunately, this one isn't paid, numbers aren't on here, but Article 3 is to accept and contract funds for town roads. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to authorize the select board to accept and enter into contracts for the expenditure of any funds allocated or to be allocated by the Commonwealth for the construction, reconstruction, and improvement of town roads. And I would move that we approve the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none?
How many
Okay.
do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Mr. Chairman? right
Yes,
here.
Mark?
Before we get started on these, if we could, from our town accountant, if we could get our available free cash and that.
What was the question? The available
Our
total?
available free cash and what we have available.
Yeah, I
If
can
we
answer
have those
that.
numbers or
I
whatnot.
can answer that.
If you could.
So based on the articles in this warrant, based on what's in there, and this includes the extra 3,000, that wasn't on the list that went out, but the pond management, they had asked to go up to 67. So including that, we're using $3,825,000 throughout the articles. That's what's recommended. We haven't voted it yet, but that's what's been recommended. The free cash that was certified was $4,900,916. So the balance, which I could give you because I had it in two pieces just because of the way it was written, there is a proposed holdback of 10%, and after using the money, or after looking at the referenced or recommended uses, there would be $585,824.40. And sure, 585,824.40. And the holdback was 490,091.60. So the combination is what's actually out there for free cash.
If I may, since we're on that, at what point because I don't know the order here, at what point would we discuss that holdback of 490,091 and the 585,824 actually going into like a
Well, usually when we get to
stabilization fund or going
when we
somewhere?
get to the stabilization account article, I'm going to ask to defer that until the end of our hearings or end of our meetings, because depending on what we do and how we recommend we go forward affects what might be left for free cash.
Okay, thank
And then
you.
at the end, what the committee has tended to do is any free cash that hasn't been allocated, we recommend that go into stabilization.
Okay, thank you.
Typically, that's what we do.
Okay,
And for those that were around last year, they put an article in, Article 6, for stabilization, and as soon as it came up, we had a member stand up and say, why are we looking at this now? We usually wait till everything's done, and it got tabled until the end of all the money was heard. And it only makes sense, because you want to know what you have.
Okay,
But anyhow, that,
answer your question, Mark? Okay.
And I know Liz is there, she could tell you what her thoughts were, but it would be my intent not to leave money hanging. So the final total, if you put those two together, comes out to $1,075,916. That's what I have.
Okay, everyone got that? All right, perfect.
Okay?
Ready to move on? All right.
Okay, the next article we had was Article 4, which is on the next page. Sorry, Eric, I didn't have these numbers. I failed. Be page 2. Huh?
What was the question, Mark? We voted on.
It was
on two.
12-0.
Yeah, you seconded the thing, and then we did the vote. Yeah, there was Article 3, so we skipped 1 and 2. We're on 3. We're going to jump to 4 now.
So Article 4, we have, I don't take short here. Apply for and accept federal and state funding. And the motion is that the town vote to authorize the select board to apply for and accept any federal and/or state funding or grants that are or may become available to the town. And on Article 4, I would like to make the motion that we recommend to accept this motion as written in the warrant.
A second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next item on the agenda, or next article.
The next article that we had assigned was Article 5, disposal of town property. This on the same page now, too. And the motion is that the town vote to authorize the select board and/or its designee to dispose by auction or otherwise town-owned property in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30B. And I would move that we recommend the motion as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second on Article 5. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article.
The next article we had assigned was Article 6, which is the Cedar Hill Enterprise Fund budget. I'm just going to remind everybody that when this came up last year, if there's things in the budget, once this gets voted, the budget is shut down. So if you have any questions in the budget, you better bring them up when this comes up at town meeting. Because Mr. Moderator back there shut me down last year when I tried to ask something about the budget that's in the budget, and it's already been closed out because we voted the enterprise fund. So just keep that in mind. We can talk here just on what's here, but so in the Cedar Hill Enterprise Fund budget, the proposed motion is that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, F and 1/2, to appropriate the sum of $466,001 to fund the Cedar Hill Golf Course for fiscal year 2025, with $466,001 to be raised from the FY25 Cedar Hill Golf Course revenue. And I move that we recommend approval of this motion as written in the warrant.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Yes, Lisa.
I just have a question. So does this mean this is, because it's an enterprise fund, is this based on the budget that it's not being subsidized this year?
Yeah, this would be funded through the Cedar Hill Golf Course revenue, the
Yeah.
25 revenue, so.
It's in the last line.
They're paying it themselves. There is no subsidy.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article, please.
Next article that we were assigned was Article 7, the Public Health Association Enterprise Fund. All right, so Article 7, going over to page 3. The Public Health Association Enterprise Fund. And the proposed motion is that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 1/2, to appropriate the sum of, $1,006,000. There is a typo in here because they put an extra zero in, so it would look like a lot more, but, you know, fat finger, you hit that twice, it's quick. So it's $1,006,072 to fund the Stoughton Public Health Association Enterprise for fiscal year 25, with $477,380 to be raised from the FY25 public health revenue and other available funds, and $128,692 to be transferred from the Public Health Fund retained earnings, and $400,000 to be transferred and appropriated from free cash. And I'll make the motion that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
We have a second over here?
Lauren?
Lauren, okay. Motion and a second. You have a question, Lisa?
Yep, sorry, I'm going to have a few of them because it's my first time around. So is that 400,000 that's asked to be transferred and appropriated from free cash, what I see on here that says V&A supplement, or is that separate?
I didn't
Yes,
quite
that's
catch
correct.
that. What was that?
Do you want to
That
repeat
is
the question?
correct.
It's one in the same?
Yes.
Okay, just the two different names.
Yep.
Want to confirm. Thank you.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Lisa? Okay. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article.
The next article we had was Article 8, which is the Sewer Department Enterprise Fund. That's on the same page. The motion is that the town vote pursuant to the provision of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F and 1/2, to appropriate the sum of $8,887,000 $8,548 to fund the sewer department for fiscal year 2025, with $8,887,548 to be raised from the FY25 sewer enterprise revenue. And I would move that we recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article, please.
Next article we had assigned to us is Article 9, the Water Department Enterprise Fund. This is on the same page, page 3. The proposed motion is that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, F and a half, to appropriate the sum of $6,518,586 to fund the Water Department for fiscal year 2025, with $5,888,586 to be raised from FY25 Water Department enterprise revenue, and $200,000 from retained earnings, and $430,000 from the MWRA Infrastructure Fund. And I would make the motion that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none. Next article, please.
Next article we have is Article 10, Cable Public Access Enterprise Fund.
Excuse me, I'm going to recuse myself from this one, okay?
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Duly
Lawyer.
noted. Thank you, David. So on page 4, the proposed motion is that the town vote in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53, F and a half, to appropriate the sum of $491,400 to fund the Cable Public Access Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025, with $491,400 to be raised from the FY25 Cable Public Access Enterprise Fund revenue. And I'll move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none.
So that's 11 to 0 to 1.
Next article, please.
The next article would be the Article 11, that would be reauthorization of the revolving funds. Now this question was raised, but just to remind you, the article is there and then it has the full chart listed. And then you see the chart again under the motion because that's the way we were told it had to be done. So the proposed motion is that the town vote pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as most recently amended, to establish fiscal year limitations and expenditures from the revolving funds established by the general bylaws, Section 42, revolving funds, with such limitations to remain applicable for fiscal year, from fiscal year to fiscal year, until such time as they are later amended and as set forth in the warrant, and to carry forward any monies remaining in such funds from year to year unless otherwise transferred by town meeting, and to amend Section 42-1 entitled Funding Programs or Purposes and Revenue as printed in the warrant. Now, I can give you the recap. They list the funds, they list what the program and purpose is, and they list department receipts with a couple of items highlighted under the Board of Health. But the fund for the Council on Aging, the spending limit is $50,000. Recreation is $200,000. The Geographic Information Systems is $15,000. The Youth Commission is $50,000. Community Events is $10,000. Conservation Commission is $50,000. Board of Health is $120,000. And the Stormwater is $50,000. and the compost bin rain barrel is $2,300. In case you're wondering, those funds are all funds that those particular entities bring in, whether it be through fines or what have you. That's where the money comes from. This just sets the limit. It doesn't mean they can spend that much. It means they can only spend up to that much if they have those funds available in their revolving accounts. So like recreation, they offer programs that they charge for or what have you, and that brings money in, and that goes into their revolving account. And this is just the limit of what they can spend. No matter how much they bring in, it's limited to this. But they can't go up to this unless they have the money available. I hope that didn't confuse you anymore.
I'll second it.
What are you smirking at over there?
Did you have a motion on that yet, John?
And I would like to move that we accept this motion and recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Actually, I have a question on that.
You do have a question
All
on
right.
it? Okay.
Yes, I was wondering if we could, from the accountant, what we actually have in these accounts?
It might take me a minute to bring that up. And with the revolving funds, the money carries forward year to year. It does not close out as how your article is written. So you'll have to give me a few minutes. If I can't get this for you tonight, would tomorrow be acceptable?
That's fine?
Fine by me.
Okay, that's fine.
Want to
Thank
have
you.
those
Thank you.
numbers?
All right, so motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article, please.
Okay, the next article that we have, that was here. The next article we have is the Article 12, collective bargaining article for police superior officers. Woo! So Article 12, the proposed motion is that the town vote to implement the terms of a collective bargaining agreement between the town of Stoughton and the Stoughton Police Superior Officers Union, MCOP, Local 461, Council 93, for 3 years, with the funds needed for the first fiscal year to be appropriated under Article 15. And that, the money's already in the budget. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they indicated a certain amount was taken out of the patrolman's line to fund part of this contract. We did get numbers on what the contracts were costing and so forth. That did get sent out, but that's the motion, and I would move to recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article, please.
Next article is Article 13. Article 13 is to fund the CBA for Patrolmen's Union, and that is on the next page, Article 13. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to implement the terms of a collective bargaining agreement between the town of Stoughton and the Stoughton Police Patrolmen's Union for 3 years, with the funds needed for the first year, FY25, to be appropriated under Article 15, which is the budget. And I would make the motion that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article, please.
Next article that we were assigned is Article 14, unpaid bills. This is on the same page. The proposed motion, I think, from the last time, we did get one more bill in. It was $1,725, so the amount just got increased by that. It's a school bill, and it'll be paid for by the schools. The chart is in here. And the proposed motion is the town vote to appropriate $8,242.67 to pay unpaid bills as shown in the chart below from prior fiscal years and to meet the appropriation $1,026.19 be appropriated from the FY24 water budget, $2,935.96 to be appropriated from the FY24 sewer budget, $2,233 appropriated from the FY24 snow and ice budget, $322.52 appropriated from the FY24 Cedar Hill budget, and $1,725 appropriated from the FY24 school department budget. And I move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none. Please continue with the next article.
The next article is actually Article 15, which is the general fund operating budget, and I ask that we put that off until we go through the rest of the articles.
All right, well, I guess move to
If you'd
16.
indulge me there.
Absolutely. Skip over 15.
So the next article was Article 16, supplemental fiscal year 24 departmental budgets. And Article 16 is, at the moment, between schools and municipal, we have had no requests for supplemental budget. So at this time, the proposed motion would be to refer it to town meeting, and I'll do this for discussion. So I'm going to move that we approve the motion as written in the warrant.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Dave, you have a question on this?
Yeah, I think early on in the process, there was concern about the money coming from hotel revenue, and there was also a problem, except for, take away that comment, strike that.
Thank you.
It was the revenue that was supposed to come from the governor to cover the cost of the people living in these hotels that were coming to the schools, getting bused to the schools. Were they made whole, or were they going to be needing a supplemental added here? Because there was supposed to be money and it was promised. Are they able to get through their budget to cover the cost of schooling these newcomers to the town? Or are we going to be looking at a supplemental? I mean, right now it says to be determined, but did they already get made whole?
At this point, we have not had any presentation from either municipal or schools stating that they had a need for a supplemental budget. I mean,
There have been no requests
we have
at
the
this
town
point.
manager, we have
Thank you
the
for that.
finance, if they have anything to add that might
Yes, Lisa, I'm
address
gonna-
your issue.
in case there's a
Just
second question.
real quick, I see the town manager is going to pick up. He said he was going to get us something in writing to that effect. At our
No,
le-
this, I think Mr. Lurie's asking if the schools or the town or any municipal department, I think he was kind of really highlighting the schools, have requested additional funds for a supplemental FY24.
No, I get
Yeah,
that
yes,
piece.
it's-
I was talking about the
I
second
can
piece.
fill you in on that.
the second piece of that
This
is not
money
part of
that
this
was
article.
in writing. It was a letter written from the governor saying, we're going to give $104 per student per day.
Oh, that's the other issue.
That's the money I'm talking about.
Okay.
And
The
it-
article is whether or not anybody has requested supplemental fiscal year. If we had any requests, then the motion would be different. Mr. Calter, did you want to answer something on this? Oh, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, to the committee, there has been no request of supplemental funding from the school department. They feel as though they will be whole for the year. I know there was a concern earlier, but so far we're fine, and the town does not need any additional supplemental.
And that money goes, excuse me.
Thank you very much for that.
Through you, Vaughn, that money goes to the general fund and then to the schools, or does it go straight to the schools?
What money are
Money,
you
that
referring to?
$104 a day per student.
That's not really part of the article, but, I mean,
If it's a supplemental, that's
we've
because
received
they-
no request for a supplemental budget, though. We haven't received any requests from any department for a supplemental budget.
If I may, Mr. Chair, any funding that's coming from the state for $104 per pupil, that would be coming through a grant aspect, which is for the school department, and I believe they've already received the grant funding.
All right, thank you. So payment would be received through a grant. Does that answer your question, Mr. Laurie?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, do we want to continue on with that article then? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, hearing none. Next article, please.
The next article is actually Article 17, which is the deposit to the stabilization fund, and I ask that we defer that until we get through all the financials and know what's left and what we might want to do with it.
All right, thank you very much. We will skip Article
That's-
17 for now.
That's 15 and 17 that have been pushed off to later. So the next article would be Article 18, which is the Community Preservation Committee FY25 Budget Report. And jump over to the next page, which on this unnumbered warrant that I sent out to everybody, we just got to keep scrolling through the pages. On Article 18, the motion, and I think I did send that list out that, there were some changes made. A couple of the CPC motions got rewritten because the ones that went in weren't voted yet, and they ended up having to reword some of them. So I will reword it. The numbers are all there. Most of the CPC, they just ended up expanding on the fund name because it wasn't the full name that was in the original warrant. But for Article 18, Community Preservation Committee FY25 Budget Report, the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate or reserve from Community Preservation Fund FY25 estimated annual revenues and from the Community Preservation Fund the amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses in fiscal year 2025 and for other CPA purposes as specified below, with each item considered a separate appropriation. The Community Preservation administrative expenses, $58,748. Community Housing Reserve, $117,731. Historic Resources Reserve, $117,731. Open Space Reserve, $117,731. And the FY25 budgeted annual reserve, $765,371. And further, to transfer the sum of $83,835 from the Open Space Reserve, $19,600 from the Historic Resources Reserve, and $32,500 from the Community Housing Reserve, and $252,513 from the undesignated fund balance for the following: long-term debt service, $345,298, and unissued debt service, $43,150. And the Community Preservation Committee did recommend this 8-0. I did do the math. It does add up, so if anybody wants to check it, they can, but I did try and go through these when they had multiple numbers to make sure they add it. So I would make the motion that we approve and recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second?
A point of,
Motion and a,
Yeah, I have a point of order.
yes.
You're ready. You want to?
Yeah, motion and a second. Yes, Dave.
This is just a hypothetical. So when we get down to the CPA articles, and let's say, for example, one of the articles gets rejected for some reason, or even at town meeting for that matter, whether it's our body or the town meeting, what happens to the money from that article? Does it have to be voted back in Article 18 to get a new number? What happens to the money?
I have a sneaking suspicion
The-
someone's here to answer this. Yes,
Well,
Biz?
This is only a recommendation from the Community
I'm just saying
Preservation.
because
No,
we're
I'm not,
voting.
let me
Yeah.
finish my answer. This is the recommendation. They can only recommend the funding. They're the only ones that can recommend the funding. town meeting is the only one that can approve the expenditure. So as with any article, if an article fails, whatever money they were asking for would not be expended. They don't have to do anything. It's just that whatever project they might have approved fails. So the money does not go anywhere. It hasn't been appropriated, and it won't be.
And this vote has nothing to do with, it doesn't have to be, this vote doesn't have to be amended after the fact. That's your point.
No, this is just where all the money's going. And then when you get to the articles, they specify what funds they want to take the money from to fund that article. So this is just the budget and the report that we're voting here, not any of the specific articles they've put forth.
Yes, Biz?
What it becomes, it's no action. If it's voted town meeting, voted down, it doesn't pass, nothing happens with the article, nothing happens with the revenues, it stays in the original pockets that it was coming from.
All right, thank you very much for that. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. The next article, please.
So the next article we have is Article 19, appropriate funds from the fiscal year 2025 operating budget to OPEB. So Article 19 is actually on the next page, the motion. At this point in time, we have a proposed motion that the town appropriate $10,000 from free cash to the other post-employment benefits, OPEB trust. And I move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second?
Motion and a second. Yes, Dave?
Yeah, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the dollar number. I've never seen a number this low, and I'm wondering why it has to be $10,000 when it seems like a drop-off. I'm just wondering if that sets off any alarms with anybody to say, why did it drop off to almost nothing compared to where we used to fund
The
OPEB?
very first deposit to this fund was $10,000.
And since then,
Not sure if we've done much.
this is an average number that we're looking at, 10,000?
She'll tell you.
Oh, there's a chart on the screen, I guess. That is the mic on? Could you just put the mic on? Thank you.
OPEB on the screen, it's in the stabilization fund balances I had sent you, is $404,129.78. That's the balance, and it's not unusual for values going into OPEB to fluctuate from year to year. It's not unusual.
All right, thank you very much.
Which chart was that on?
It's in the email. It's up on the screen right now, too.
It's in the chart that's called ATM Article Summary with Funding Sources.
Oh, I'm sorry, here it is, yep.
So OPEB monies that we put aside don't go to Norfolk County, it stays within an account we hold that's set aside, and how does it get out of stabilization then?
It
Does
doesn't
town
get out of
meeting
stabilization unless it's voted out. Some communities, if they have a shortage in their health insurance, et cetera, they will vote money out of OPEB to fund the health insurance. It's not recommended. What's being looked at from a financial position is the auditors want to see us to have a balance, as well as our bond counsel and our financial advisors, so that when we go out to bid for bonds, we have money in there. They are looking to see that we are trying to fund it, and it's not unusual for the values to change depending on the situation that's going on in the community.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Please continue to the next article.
Next article is Article 20, which is Public Works and Facilities Capital. This is on the same page as the OPEB motion. And the motion that's here is that the town vote to appropriate from free cash $151,000 to replace and/or purchase and/or lease purchase for terms of up to or more than 3 years the following item, including equipping of the vehicles and equipment, all other incidental and related costs, all is set forth in the chart below, which is the rack truck for $151,000. I'll make the motion that we recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second.
I have a question just on this wording. It says, for the purchase and/or lease purchase for terms of up to or more than 3 years. So is this indicating they want it no less than 3 and it could be more?
Well, the indication would be if we were going to lease the piece of equipment, it would only be up to 3 years. You have to have a special vote to go beyond 3 years. And the way we have this going right now, it's going to be an outright purchase. It will not be a lease.
I was just curious with the wording because it says up to or more than 3 years. So it was just odd the way it was written to me, but thank you.
All right, motion and a second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none.
Article 21, which is the town buildings and facilities maintenance and upgrades. The motion is on the next page. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate from free cash $75,000 to undertake maintenance, extraordinary maintenance, improvements, repairs, upgrades, modifications, and the like at town-owned buildings and facilities, including but not limited to, as applicable, professional engineering, architectural services, design, site preparation and demolition, installation, and all other incidental and related costs. And I'll make the motion to approve and recommend to town meeting as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Lisa, you have a question?
Yep, this is just a question in what traditionally has happened. I'm just curious as to why something like that wouldn't be included in the operating budget.
Well, they're looking for this to be funded from free cash. The first time I recall seeing this was last year when he actually had 2 articles in for $75,000, and it was to alleviate having to come to the finance committee, which can take time and everything to get it together and so forth. And this was really to be able to take care of anything that come up that was outside the norm. Why it's not just in the operating budget? Well, we are trying to get away from free cash in the operating budget, so they put it in as an article. It's something that I'm sure will be questioned again this year. It was questioned last year. When Mr. Jaffoon presented this, he was asked, you had this last year, how much has been spent? And I believe roughly they'd already gone through half the money anyway, already. And I can only presume that the town manager is overseeing his department heads and what they're spending and making sure that things are appropriate. So he's on the phone right now. He can't answer the question, but I would assume he's doing that.
They have a couple more questions on that side.
Yes, Dave?
Yeah, just real quick, there is another way to handle these things, and that was an article last year that got voted down by actually by a very small, thin margin, was to open a revolving fund that was going to be funded by proceeds, et cetera, et cetera. So if that came back and we actually had a revolving fund, that would make it a lot more fluid for the DPW to operate with those kinds of facility needs that they have.
Yeah, I like that idea better.
That was from selling town-purchased vehicles at an auction and keeping the money, which is only going to open you up to any other department who sells things off wanting to keep the money. So
Eric,
Anyways, go ahead,
You have a
Eric.
question, Eric?
No, not a question, I was just going to add to what John was saying. Just from my notes to that point is that Paul Jaffoon did say that eventually they want it to be in the operating budget, like they've done with pond management. So it's like a goal, but we're just not there yet. And I actually have it down as 2/3 of their budget that has been
Two-thirds,
spent.
all right.
So even
I
more than what
figured, I
you're
knew
calling.
it had to be about
They are
that.
using it, it's just, and it is also that goal to get it in the budget, Lisa. So, yep, we'll keep moving in that
Thank you for the more
direction.
specific number.
Well, thank you. Motion,
Mine was a wag.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Next article is Article 22, Police Department Capital. Oh. Okay, same page. Well, we've had some information come in. We didn't have all the information come in that we were hoping we would get. As I mentioned, I did watch your 4-hour meeting from last Wednesday from sunny Florida. Well, I only watched a piece of it, but I did watch it this weekend. And I know there were issues raised by Mr. Struck on the firearms, and it turned out the firearms were 2 proposals they received for 2 different type guns, and the whole thing was put in. That's why they were at the $160,000. Now, we did get from the chief of police, we did get notified that for the firearms, the email stated that the firearms were now at, and I don't, it's funny, I don't have that written down here for the,
I think it was 95.
it was,
I think it's
it was
94,115.
94,114 or something. Did if I find the email I sent out to everybody,
Chet has it, I'm looking at it.
do you have it?
Chet's looking at
What's the actual number?
94,115.66. Thank you, Chet.
That's what I just said, 94,115.
Yes, you did, Vaughn. We'll give you credit.
94,115 and change. So, and we did get confirmation that the cruisers were actually 73,514, which for 3 of them is 220,542. But you then have to add the laptops and the radios for the vehicles.
Which for 3 of them comes to about 249,500.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
That's correct. I don't know if that might be in the email too.
All right. Can I just have
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So with that, and then the vests were 72,000. But we had asked at the meeting if she could provide an estimate for the unmarked car. And we did not receive that, I believe, as of now. We have not received that. I know I talked to the chief, and she said that they were trying to work on that. She had her car person working on trying to get an estimate or a quote for the unmarked car, but we haven't received that. However, they did drop, like $65,000 off the firearms.
When I spoke with the chief, I'm just going to add some context to this.
Please.
We talked about this exact thing, that there was a $5,000 reduction in the firearms. And she relayed to me she felt confident that if that 65 were to be included back, towards a vehicle, that she would be able to get an unmarked vehicle for that 65 or less. But that was her, words to me on that. But we don't have a quote on that yet. But she was pretty confident for the $65,000 that she could get an unmarked vehicle. So just wanted to add that.
Just for the sake of doing the math, we have to track it until we get to that article. We have to put a number down, right? So isn't it,
Well, I haven't finished my motion
oh,
yet.
the motion is going to adjust to the
Yeah.
new number. Okay, thank you.
So because we had gotten these emails expressing what it was and so forth, with the reduction on the firearms, and I mean, the money they gave was odd, and I'm gonna, just to tell you, I'm looking to make that 95,000, just to keep everything even. And if you take the 95 and the 72 that were there, that's 167,000. The article was for 487 from free cash. So I would like to just change the cruisers just to include the cash that was looking to be expended from free cash. So if you take the 95 and the 72, that's 167, and that would leave $320,000 as a balance. So my motion is going to be to the town vote to appropriate $487,000 to purchase capital for the police department as set forth in the chart below, and that to meet this appropriation, $487,000 be transferred from free cash. I would like to modify item 1 for the 3 standard and 1 unmarked car to $320,000. I would like to change the firearms to $95,000 and the ballistic vests still at $72,000. The total still being $487,000.
All right.
Motion and a second. Dave, you have a question?
So are we confident that 350,000 will get her the 4 vehicles that are listed here? Are we just, is it more than enough or is it just barely enough? That's kind of, you threw the 95 in, it was kind of a rounded number. Is she going to be okay getting her 4 vehicles at that number?
I added $885 to the estimate we were given, a little under that when you take the change in.
So I'm
But-
just asking if it would be
When I
fine.
spoke to the chief, she said she felt that the total amount that was in here would be sufficient to pay for everything that was in here once she saw what the firearms went down to. That
Okay.
was the word I got from her.
Mr. Lurie, I think you're asking if the extra $70,000 would be enough to buy the 4th vehicle. Is that what
Correct.
you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. It was relayed to me. She was pretty confident that she could get an unmarked vehicle for that additional money, which would be approximately $70,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Eric?
Did the chief feel like she'd actually have a quote to provide to town meeting by the time we get there?
She's hoping to have a
Yeah.
quote before
Okay.
town
Mike-
meeting.
All right,
Yeah,
I mean,
my-
because my main concern, not to be too much of a nudge, is just, recommending money to town meeting without that sort of hard data.
Right,
Yeah,
without the book.
To that
So like my
point,
inclination without a quote is honestly to bring down the whole article.
no,
But-
my concern is the other way.
Okay.
My concern is to have more than enough, because you can only go down, it's very difficult for town meeting to go up on a number.
Right,
It's easy to come down off a number, and that's why I brought it up now.
that's fair.
Yes, Biz?
Mr. Chair, based on the information that was discussed with the chief yesterday, this is based on the most recent and best estimates that we have right now. And the town manager, myself, police chief, we all feel confident that this will cover what she needs for her unmarked and her regular vehicles.
All right, thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
good, that's fine.
Yeah, Chet?
Hi, I'd like to make clarification on the weapons that they're going to buy. I think the reason why they went to new weapons is because they want optic sights on the weapons. The weapons we have right now, the 9mm, the receiver cannot receive the optic sights. So there's 2 types. One is, you've seen it on all these SWAT team type movies stuff, the laser goes out. And the other one they have is only the police officer can see it. But on the receivers on the new weapons, they have slots in it so you can slide the optic sights on it. So I think that's why she wants optic sights, so she has to buy new weapons for that to work. They can't retro the 9mm that they have. And as verified to me by a tactical, Steve's Tactical down at
And the other thing she did mention is, and she mentioned it during the hearing, that there would be some trade value to the weapons. However, you can't trade your weapons in until you have all the new ones and so forth. So because of the timing that it would take to turn them in and get the money and so forth, she really couldn't include that as part of the funding. And if and Biz can probably tell us, if they trade it in after the fact, the money goes to?
Well, what happens is there'll be a reduction in the invoice, but we are very confident in what the chief presented, and we're confident in the numbers that she presented to us. Now, with any article, any numbers that are not expended, they resort back and they close out to the general fund.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second. Elliot, you have a question?
No, second.
Oh, okay. I think
it's already
I think
been
it's already been seconded. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Eric.
So that's 11 to 1.
No, I think it's 2.
Who said no? Oh, Chet.
Chet,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. 10 to 2. I didn't hear that one, that's all. Okay, 10 to 2. Okay, next article is Article 23 for the Fire Department capital. Article 23 actually is done on the next page. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $740,000 to purchase capital for the fire department. All is set forth in the chart below, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and to meet this appropriation, $740,000 be transferred from free cash. An ambulance for $450,000, ladder 2 refurbishment for $200,000, and an incident command vehicle for $90,000. And for the sake of discussion, I will make the motion that we recommend this article and the motion as printed in the warrant.
A motion and a second.
I heard.
I do have a question.
Diane.
Do we know when the last ambulance was bought?
No, I do not.
The last ambulance,
Excuse me, Chet, what was it?
Was it 3 or 3 years?
Sounds about right.
I don't have
It's
the
on
chart.
that policy that the select board made for the cruisers, and also, I think it's like
Okay.
7 to 8 years for the ambulance, not the ambulance, but the apparatus, the ladders and stuff.
I don't
like that.
know.
This is just the ambulance.
Yeah, I don't really know, but Chet sounds very convincing when
I
he
know-
said it. So, I mean,
I know the-
no, I
I know
believe him. It
Chief-
sounds about right. I mean,
I know Chief Larissy had a
I don't think.
plan in place
No, that sounds
for
believable.
all fire department vehicles and how often they would need to be done, and that's, it has been published. I don't have it with me, but that has been put out there so that, you know, the committee, like, we could look forward, you know, to what would be coming and what would be costs. But I'm not positive when it was, but it was a few years ago anyway.
All right. The second part of that question is how many ambulances will we have in service then?
Well, I think what happens, if I'm not mistaken, from the presentation that he gave, I mean, it was fairly quick that night for fire department, but I think you'll still have the 3 ambulances, and what it'll do is this will replace the oldest one, and then, you know, then the oldest one after that would become the third ambulance, if you will, the one that's kind of in hold, and unless one of the better ones go in for service or something, they would use it.
all right, thank you for that. Any other questions
I
on
do
this?
have a question.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I wasn't here to ask that night, but maybe the town manager or the assistant town manager could answer, but they're looking to buy another incident command vehicle. They bought 2 last year. So I don't know if they explained how old the one was they were replacing. I didn't hear that.
Through you, I believe he did say there was very high mileage on it. When we asked him about it during the presentation, I just don't recall.
All right.
2014.
Hmm?
He said it was a 2014,
Okay, so 10 years old?
yeah.
Okay,
And then he said if he gets this one, he won't come back for another 6 years.
all right. I appreciate the the note-taking.
Right.
Oh,
Thank you
hold on.
for that, Laura.
Could you repeat that, Laura?
Sure. Now I have to find it. It was,
2014.
this would be a replacement of a 2014 Incident Command Vehicle, and after this, he won't come back for another 6 years.
Thank you very much.
All right, motion and a second.
Wait, you got a hand up.
Oh, Lauren, you have a question? Yeah, look for that green light on there. Not
Did
the
I-
one up there. Yeah, I can hear you.
Did I hear wrong, or isn't he still waiting for a vehicle that he was supposed to get last time that he hadn't gotten?
Those were the ambulances.
The ambulances,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it was a different vehicle.
Ambulances, yeah.
Chet, you have something on that?
Those were the ambulances.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Chet?
No, they received a pickup truck for fire and rescue. If you notice, sometimes black with, I think it's yellow.
It's
markings
got
on
orange
it.
letters and it says like Stoughton Safety
Yeah,
on it.
that's one they just got.
All right,
Only because I talked to the guy that was driving it.
okay.
Okay.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Let's move to the next article.
The next article is Article 24, Sewer Capital, Inflow and Infiltration. And this motion is that the town vote to appropriate $400,000 to continue improving the sewer system and reduce infiltration and inflow of groundwater and water from other sources, including but not limited to investigation of sources of water, loading from rain leaders, sump pumps, but not limited to, as applicable, professional engineering, architectural services, design, site preparation, and demolition, installation, and all other incidental related costs. And to meet this appropriation, $400,000 be transferred from the Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings. And I would make the motion that we recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. You have a question, Mark? All right.
I was wondering if we could get the amount that's in our sewer enterprise fund?
You mean the I&I? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
During our hearings, we were told there was approximately $1.3 million in the fund as of May of '23.
Is that accurate, Biz?
For the I&I?
Yes.
I&I is that is, you've been borrowing for I&I every year. The balance in the project account, I don't have that handy right now, but I can find that for you.
Can you just define INI for the people watching?
It's
Sure.
Inflow and infiltration. Did you want to define it? Sorry, I just.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It's inflow and infiltration. It's based on sewer leakage.
Yeah, it's actually in the motion on here, too.
Yeah.
Is there any water getting into the system that shouldn't be, that we end up getting charged for?
Are you good with that, Lisa? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Doesn't look like there's any questions on this, but I would like to publicly thank, I know Jamie's the one who sent it over. I'd like to thank Jamie for sending over that map that shows where we've I&I'd already, because I ask for it every year, because I think it's a good visual for town meeting to see that we're actually accomplishing something. And I just think it's important for people to see where the money's going. So there is actually a map that will be in the book this year. So when somebody asks, what have we done? We can say, look to page,
Look at page 832.
whatever the page number it is. So I wanted to say thank you for that. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we will move to the next article.
The next article is Article 25, which is the Water and Sewer Department Capital, which is on the following page. And just as a point of information, the jet truck that they're looking for is replacing a 1996, and the two F-250s were 2014s, and they'll be trading those in. So, and I think the information was in the packet we got for what they were looking at for the money. So the proposed motion is that the town vote I'm going to say this now, they repeated the word department in the motion, we will get rid of one of them. That the town vote to appropriate $586,000 to design, permit, install, and construct and purchase capital improvement items and projects for the water and sewer departments, all is set forth in the chart below, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow $586,000 and to issue bonds or notes, therefore pursuant to Chapter 44 of the general laws or any other enabling authority, and further, although these bonds and notes will be considered general obligations of the town, the debt service on these obligations is intended to be repaid by the water and sewer enterprise funds. The new jet truck for $350,000, 2 F-250 work trucks with plows, $154,000, and 1 new F-250 work truck with a plow for $82,000. And I will move that we recommend this to town meeting with the motion as amended, which is just removing the second department word.
Okay, we get a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second motion and a second? Lisa, you have a question on this?
Yes, probably maybe Elizabeth or the town manager, just regarding the debt. So we'd be adding debt, and I know our debt meeting is on the 9th here in this room at 7 on April 9th. But how does this is going to be considered as part of that overall debt, correct? Is that a...
The debt presentation on April 9th is to show where our debt is now, and this is in the capital report that was sent to our financial advisor for a review process. So they're just going to show what belongs to the water, what belongs to the sewer, how the funding comes along.
So this, if we vote yes on this, that becomes of that, it's included in the overall picture of the debt for the town.
Right, and the overall picture is strictly informational to let the town meeting members and the town body in general know where we are on our debt and how things are working debt-wise.
I just hesitate to vote on this without knowing that picture right now.
Well, voting on it from the Finance Committee, you're recommending it to the legislative body, which is town meeting, and when you get to town meeting can vote no. It's well within their right to vote no on this. If you in particular don't feel comfortable voting it, you can vote no, or you can abstain, or you can vote in the affirmative. You have 3 different options on which way to vote.
Dave?
You good with that, Lisa? Yes. All right. Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, a question and a comment, really. It's, I sent in questions about that. I never got an answer back.
I did forward on your questions. I did not receive an answer.
Oh, okay. And this goes to the point that's being raised by the previous speaker. So I did a little bit of math, kind of back of the napkin kind of math.
Uh-oh.
So be very careful with this. Is that, I tried to take the whole picture of like what our budget was and take a look at the picture that came from our treasurer, which is the statement of indebtedness document. And I just did some math, and it looked to me like we were about 2.5% of our general fund with debt inside the budget. And I don't know whether that's give or take, but it's definitely under 3% as far as I could tell. And I know that we have a policy of not going over 10%. So that's just observation.
The law, you have to be careful what you do with your debt, because you only have so much debt that you can expend when you're getting to your levy ceiling. And part of this presentation that we'll be having on the 9th is explaining the process and how it works and where our debt is at this point in time. With this debt going forward, this will also be on there, but it's a general information to give everybody a pretty good idea of what we're looking at debt-wise.
Yeah, and this is added to that, Vaughn, if I can. There was passed last year, and I've gotten, pretty confident feedback about the financial policy statement, that it will incorporate a debt service policy, which is really an update of what we already have for a debt service policy, but incorporated into a much larger financial statement. And what I'm hoping to see is that there be a floor, not just a ceiling of 10%, but that we don't drop so low that we're constantly having to do overrides just to fund the next shiny object, like a pickup truck. Oh, we're going to have to go to a debt exclusion because, everything's gobbled up in a budget. So we need to maintain a floor on that, and I'm hoping that that's something that we will see.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have 10-2 on that. Okay.
10-2. Who? I missed the, who were the against? Thank you.
Okay, we're
10-2.
10-2. Yep. Okay, let's move to the next article then.
The next article is Article 26, Pratt's Court Water Treatment Improvements. This starts on the same page, and actually the whole thing is there. So for Article 26, Pratt's Court Water Treatment Improvements, the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $4,440,000 for the purpose of financing the design, permitting, and construction of upgrades and improvements of the water treatment plant for the Pratt's Court water supply sources required for the treatment of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, say that one fast, in said water supply sources, filter media change out for iron and manganese removal, install 3 new well pumps, and all incidental and related costs. And to meet that appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow $4,440,000 and to issue bonds or notes, therefore, pursuant to Chapter 44 and/or Chapter 29C of the general laws, or any other enabling authority, that all or a portion of this appropriation may be borrowed from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, and that in connection therewith, the treasurer or town manager or any other appropriate town official is authorized to sign a financing agreement or agreements and a project regulatory agreement or agreements and any other documents relating to such borrowing from the trust. And further, although these bonds and notes will be considered general obligations of the town, the debt service of these obligations is intended to be repaid by the Water Enterprise Fund. And I will move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Okay, motion and a second. Lisa, you have a question?
I'm just going to vote no, just because until I get a handle on where we are in the debt, it's nothing against this particular article.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Motion and a second. Eric, did you have a question on it?
Well, just information for the previous speaker, just from my notes from that meeting, what was shared with us was that 38% of the cost will be covered with a grant, and then the remainder of the loan, that the borrowing would be a zero-interest loan through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. So it's not like it's a different form of debt, if that helps at all.
Did you just say 0% interest?
Yes.
For how much percent of the debt?
That would be 62% of the debt.
Okay.
So it's a different form of debt, if that helps allay any worries.
It does help
Still
slightly.
debt, but no interest on it.
Well, thank you very much for that, Eric. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, 2 opposed, okay. Okay, we will continue to the next article.
Next article is Article 27, Cedar Hill Capital. This is on the next page. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate and fund from retained earnings $88,000 to design, permit, install, and construct and purchase capital improvement projects and items for Cedar Hill Golf Course. All is set forth in the chart below. Item 1, cart and equipment storage tent, $30,000. Item 2, course renovations, $40,000. And item 3, greens roller, $18,000. And I'll make the motion to recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Okay, motion and a second. Lisa, do you have a question?
Who made
Is
that?
that
second?
retained earnings from their enterprise fund?
What was the first part of the question?
I'm just asking, is that, it's going to be funded from
Retained earnings.
the enterprise fund, their own enterprise fund?
Correct. Enterprise funds have retained earnings, their own individual
Right,
funds.
I know. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. Okay, motion and a second. All in,
Lauren.
yes, Lauren, you have a question?
Oh, no, I thought you, she was voting.
You're very anxious to vote. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Next article on the agenda, or on the list.
12 to 9.
That's correct, yes.
The next article is Article 28, Town Pond Management Program. Wait till you hear the motion. Oh, the proposed motion, and this is going to be amended from what's written here. We were asked to change the 64,000 to 67,000 to meet the latest quote, which actually just increased the contingency by 5%.
Well, don't forget the change,
But-
they also added the word pond instead
The
of lake.
number is,
Just
well,
lake.
that's the article. Wait till you hear the motion. Mark's already seen it. He's laughing. The motion is that the town vote to appropriate $67,000 for the continuation of the Town of Stoughton's townwide pond management program to include engineering, consulting, studies, and ongoing treatment to control exotic and invasive aquatic vegetation in our town ponds, including all incidental and related expenses, and that to meet this appropriation, $67,000 be transferred from free cash. And I will make the motion that we recommend the motion as amended.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Lisa, you have a question?
So is that going to change this free cash that we're looking at? No, it's not on the screen now. So that's going to change, so we already have an additional 3,000 to do with something with ponds, correct?
This is it.
But then I see another line item here, sorry. It said 64,000. Oh, so they just
It
upped it.
changed from
They upped,
64 to
sorry.
67.
Sorry, I get it, sorry.
They ended up with a quote that changed the contingency and it went up a few thousand. So.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Elliot, okay.
11 to 1.
You're going to say no? Okay, we have 2 no's. Okay. Okay, we'll move to the next article then.
Okay, and that's, I got to make note that's as amended. So the next article, which is Article 29, and that is the intersection improvement design, Plain and West Street. This is on the next page. And the motion is that the town vote to appropriate $55,000 for professional consulting services to provide survey, civil engineering, landscape design, and other related consulting services with respect to traffic improvements at the West Street Plain Street intersection and surrounding areas, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $55,000 be transferred from free cash. And I'm going to make the motion that we recommend the proposed motion to town meeting.
Okay, motion and a second on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Move to the next article.
The next article is Article, oops, better get my numbers right here, is Article 30, which is the Canton and School Street intersection improvement design. And that's on the same page. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $225,000 for the costs of a consultant to undertake transportation-related engineering analysis, design, and surveying services for the Canton Street, School Street intersection and surrounding areas, including all incidental and related costs, and that to meet this appropriation, $225,000 be transferred from free cash. And I'll make the motion that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Motion and a second.
I do have a question.
Okay, John, you have a question on this?
Yes, I do. Mark, get ready. I don't know why I didn't think of this at the time, but Canton and School Street, wasn't that part of the corridor that they had looked at, the state, and to do something at that intersection? I just want to be clear in my mind before we go too far. I figured you came, you might as well be put to work, right?
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely on point. This project is now a DOT project. It's programmed in the 2028 TIP. So this, if you remember, there was a allotment of ARPA funds, don't quote me, about 400,000 that were allotted to get this design initiated. We went through the initial DOT steps with their pre-approvals, and now what's happened is you have the Canton and School Street intersection, and then you also now are required to signal the Cushing Street intersection with School Street. Those two signals will be synchronized together so that vehicles cannot stop on the train tracks, and there'll be a signal on the train tracks that communicates with all this. So it's a very safe area. The reason for the 225 is an amendment because we're not designing another signal.
Thank you very much for that explanation.
No problem.
Okay, motion and a second on the floor on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, please move to the next article, I guess.
The next article would be the Cedar Hill Drainage and Parking, Article 31. This is on the next page of the warrant. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $67,000 for professional consulting services to provide survey, civil engineering, and other related consulting services with respect to drainage, parking, traffic, and landscape improvements at Cedar Hill Golf Course, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $67,000 be transferred from retained earnings. And I move that we recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
Motion and, Elliot was quick on the second there. Motion and a second. Oh, Mark did it? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Oh,
Oh, you have a question? Oh, let's hear the question.
To you, Mr. Chairman. I think this might be for Mark, too. Don't often get to that section of town, but there's all kinds of stuff going on in the parking lot up there. Is this in addition to what they're doing up there now?
I drive by that every day. So I think what you see right now in the parking lot is materials that they're utilizing for improvements on the course. I saw.
No, they were doing the parking lot.
They were doing what?
The parking lot.
paving the parking lot?
Well, I don't think paving, but there was two great big trucks, one with gravelly type stuff for underlayment. And
Every 2 or 3 years, they just do normal maintenance to the parking lot, filling in
so this is over
potholes,
and above that.
things like, this is completely different. Yeah, this is essentially what this grant will, I say grant, well, this is going to be a design that the town meeting is going to fund, hopefully, with the intent that we're going to apply for a grant that will pay for at least half the construction, like we did with the Gibbons School with their stormwater improvements around their facility. We hope the type of grant we're going to apply for is a 319 grant through DEP. Essentially, the end product will be the parking lot will be paved, which by paving the parking lot, you'll actually get the most efficient layout of parking spaces in that parking lot. Right now, sometimes they paint the gravel and then it goes away. We will expand it to include handicap accessible parking spaces, which they lack now. And then the key to this, to get a grant through DEP, is the stormwater management. Everything pitches right into the pond right now. So if you park your car, and if you can imagine it, oils and greases come off cars. Salts come off cars, a lot of dirty things come off cars, and they just flow right into the pond. If you were to build that parking lot today, under today's standards, you would have to pave it. Believe it or not, you'd have to pave it so the oils and greases don't go right into the ground. They actually sheet along the pavement, and then it will go into a stormwater device, like a detention basin, a low-impact design feature. We're going to design a nice basin right along the pond, like a thin, narrow basin. The water will go in there, get treated, go into the ground in a treated fashion, very, very clean. In large storms, it will overflow into the pond. And that's essentially the scope of the project.
Thank you.
All right, motion and a second. Yes, Mark, you have a question on that?
Yes, I actually want to get clarification on the motion. I believe that he said retain earnings, which
Yes, to be transferred from retained earnings, that's correct.
but that's from our old book, but the new one that you sent out is from free cash.
No, this is the updated motion. It would come from retained earnings.
Do you have a different version, Mark? Do you have what date is your, do you know, do you have a date?
The other day was from free cash. My printed one that we had originally is from retained earnings.
Yeah, it's retained earnings on the latest one, and that's what,
The email that you had.
The one we had during our hearings might have said something different. There were a number of them that were different, but what happened was during our hearings, we were told there were some concerns with the debt, and they were going to look at what was in there, and they might be revising some of these motions. Mind you, it was at my request that Mark and Biz and the attorneys looked at this. We asked them to do the recommendations for the funding, which is still up to us. And I'll say, so I don't forget, I want to thank Mark, Biz, and Attorney Winter, who went through these, and bond counsel has gone through these. And I appreciated them getting this done and getting it to us so that when we were voting, we were actually looking at what we were recommending, not having to make changes on the fly and keeping track and trying to get them.
I'd like to just help Mark out, because I think he just needs version control on what he's reading. It's, the document is FinCom warrant articles ATM 24, and it ends in the date 03/21/24.
Yeah, but there's
So the date of
nothing on the
your,
printed
well, he's
page.
reading
Yeah,
something
1 to 4,
different. That's why I just want to make sure he has version, that we're all reading this. We should all be on the same sheet of music, is my point.
Yes, but there was no date on this one. There was a date on the file name, but not on the printout.
Yeah. I'm on,
Oh, you are on?
yeah, it's 03/21/24.
yep, I'm good.
We're good? All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? None. All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Let's move to the next article then.
The next article we have is Article 32, the police station expansion and renovation design. This is on the same page, whatever number it may be. And this is that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $300,000 for the preparation and design documents to include schematic documents for the construction, equipping, and furnishing of an expansion and renovation of the existing police station located at 26 Rose Street, assesses property ID 054-175-0, including but not limited to professional engineering, architectural, and owner's project manager services, plans for demolition and removal of the existing buildings or portions thereof, and site preparation, including any required testing and/or investigations, pardon me, and all other incidental and related expenses, and as funding therefore, $300,000 be transferred from free cash. And I'll make the motion that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Okay, motion and a second. Lisa, you have a question?
So this actually changed from our original version, from being a bonded article to using free cash?
Yeah, I think there were 5 of them that,
This is one of them.
this is one of them. And
Yeah.
I believe there were 5 that they changed from borrowing to go to free cash to try and alleviate some of the concerns with the debt that the town had.
But
I didn't add up the total, but it was a sizable change.
my concern for that is if we're using free cash, we're not potentially saving it for stabilization and infrastructure. That's my only concern. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, understood. But if you didn't want to use the free cash, you were going to be borrowing. So, yeah.
Right, it's a different vote. Okay, thank you.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let's move to the next article. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, did,
So we're at Article 33.
Article 33, no, I was just looking at a note here. Article 33, let me flip my article assignments, and this is properties located at 760 Washington Street and off Rose Street. So Article 33 is, yeah, properties located at 760 Washington Street, map 54, lot 285, and off Rose Street, map 54, lot 180. And as you know, during the hearing, they had received an appraisal on this, and the estimated cost of $750,000 was revised based on the quote, and the quote was for $1,193,000. So just pointing that out before I read the motion. We were told that during the hearings. We had received the appraisal. We received the updated appraisal to change the very first sheet, to change the 28 units to 26. Thank you very much. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,193,000 to acquire by gift, negotiated purchase, or eminent domain land together with improvements thereon, the property known as the Malcolm Parsons Building located at 760 Washington Street, being the same property described in Land Court Certificate Number 197218, consisting of approximately .293 acres, more or less, and properly located off of Rose Street, denoted as Assessors Map 54, Lot 180, together with improvements thereon for general municipal purposes, and to authorize the Select Board to enter into and/or execute any offers, licenses, temporary or permanent easements, agreements, or instruments as may be necessary for such conveyance, and to expend funds which may be necessary for professional engineering, architectural, legal, design, and/or site investigation, testing services site preparation and/or demolition, installation, and all other incidental and related costs on such terms as the Select Board deems appropriate, and as funding therefore to authorize the treasurer with the approval of the Select Board to borrow said sum under and pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other enabling authority. And I'll move that we recommend the motion as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second on this. Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, could we have Dolores and memorialize the motion that John read to include blah, 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 leading up to
Absolutely.
Malcolm Parsons? Then he'd be able to hang it on his refrigerator as a memento from...
I'll just take a clip of the video.
Chet, you have a question?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Tom Coulter. I believe this article will go in, but if the person that's the developer starts putting steel up, that this will be taken out at town meeting? Am I correct on that? Okay, thank you.
Elliot,
It's you.
it's free ear piercing tonight. So.
Fine now. It's because the speaker's right over my head. I was a bit confused the last time on that presentation. The town is going to buy this property. There's going to be a building, a structure on it that's going to have housing and all that, and retail space perhaps. Is the town then continue to own it, or is the developer going to buy it off us? And it's going to, just tell me a little bit about that, if you would.
Mr. Coulter?
Would you like to take that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you. If the owner of the property is putting up steel prior to town meeting, it is our intent to ask the Finance Committee and the board to withdraw this article. If he's not putting up steel and the town meeting chooses to buy this property, it would be our intent to fully entitle the property, meaning permits, design, engineering, and then sell the property for development to a competent builder. We're not builders. We do know how to entitle and permit properties, but we don't know how to build, or we choose not to build. So the objective, I'm sorry for this speaker, the objective is to get this project going, and Secretary Ash came here and presented to us, and it's the approach he recommended. So Mark and I have been working with the builder. He knows he's got until town meeting for the world to see the steel is being erected. Our hope, our choice, our desire is that we withdraw this and offer him all the support he needs to build that building.
Mark, you have a question?
Yes. If what we're going on and what we're voting on is the proposed motion, the proposed motion is for general municipal purposes. So how can we build a store?
Build a store?
Yeah, you said there's going to be a storefront. If we're buying this property for general municipal purposes.
We would buy this property, we would entitle, permit this property with the necessary designs to make it marketable, and then we would look for a developer, including the current owner, to see who wants to buy it and build what it's designed for, which are apartment units.
But the article says for general municipal purposes. So we're voting to have this as a municipal building.
It is for municipal purposes, meaning downtown development. It doesn't mean a municipal building.
I see it differently, but because everything usually what we've been told before at town meeting is what's written is what's written. Not what's said and not what's promised. What's written is what's written.
So town council wrote the article, and if it needs to be amended on town meeting floor, we will certainly do that. We want to express the intent and our strategy. We've made it very public. I hope the developers and the owner of the property is listening. Our objective is to help the developer build the design project, which is already permitted and has a very successful project. If he doesn't do that, the will of the people of this town has been clearly expressed. Do what we got to do to fill in that hole in the ground. That's the objective. If this needs to be amended to meet the proper form, then we can certainly do that.
Yes, if you could check with town
Certainly.
council on that,
Will
just
do,
to make
Mark.
sure, because to me, it looks like it's for a municipal building.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
2.
10 to 2. Yeah, I could choose a no. Okay, next article, please.
The next article is Article 34, School Safety Vestibules. This is on the same page. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $90,000 for the upgrade of main entrance vestibules, including doors, frames, locks, and technology at the Wilkins Elementary, the Jones Elementary, and the O'Donnell Middle School, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $90,000 be transferred from free cash. And I move we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Elliot, you have a question?
This amount here is to, is not to do all the construction, it's just to engineering and all that stuff? Or is it to complete the
I'm reading
project?
as to upgrade the main entrance vestibules, including doors, frames, locks, technology at the Wilkins. I'm reading as to get it done is the way I'm
Just to
reading it.
get it done.
That might not be tech terms to say to get it done, but that's the way I'm reading it.
Seems too cheap to be real. Only 3 schools.
Jonna?
Thank you, Vaughn. I just wanted to know why we would be including the Wilkins School if we're potentially going to get rid of the Wilkins School.
I don't know. I would guess as if there are students there now, I mean, you still need security there until such time as, if it's ever replaced. I'm not sure. But that would be my guess, complete guess.
My guess would be if they're going to replace the school, that's going to be years. And if there's security issues, you can't wait years. We're already doing that somewhere else, but that's a whole nother matter.
Thank you.
Lisa?
I'm just making a comment on this in the next few, that I'm just voting no for it. I don't understand why it's not in the budget and they're trying to take it from free cash. I just want, in general, just so everybody understands why, in addition to the debt exclusion they're going to ask for, in addition to the 7.1% they're asking. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Motion and a second. Diane, did you have something on this?
No, I'm just going. Thank you. I'm just going to abstain because I do work for the school
All right.
department.
That's why I asked, in case you want it on record. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
3. So that's 9. And you abstained?
So it's 8 yes,
So 8 to 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
Okay. Next article.
I just want to make note that Diane abstained. Next article would be Article 35, School Safety, Lining and Marking of Parking Lots. This is on the next page. And we have a proposed motion that the town vote to appropriate $55,000 for the purposes of completing the marking lines and signage of the parking lots at all pre-K through 8 schools, including the payment of costs incidental or related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, $55,000 be transferred from free cash. And I'll make a motion that we recommend this article in this motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Was that
You
3?
abstain from this, right? Okay.
Was that,
So we have 7
You were-
to 4
okay.
to 1. 7 to 4 to 1, right?
4?
Chet, you're a no? Yeah,
Were
so
you
7 to 4.
Yeah. So 7, 4, 1. Oop.
Okay, next article on here.
The next article on the bandwagon is Article 36, School Safety Security Audit. And this is on the same page as 35 motion. And the proposed motion is that the town vote to appropriate $20,000 for the purpose of hiring a professional school security consultant to complete a thorough and comprehensive safety security audit of all 8 school buildings, and that to meet the appropriation, that $20,000 be transferred from free cash. And I will move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, you're abstaining? Okay, so 7 to 4 to 1.
Is the word Article 36 missing in here, or am I?
Pardon
It's
me?
on the other
It's on the
page. It
original
On
kinda
page
wrong.
32,
Yeah.
is it not
cut
in
off.
there?
Well, when I printed, it got
It
cut off.
chopped off the
Oh, okay.
title. I have a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Laurie.
Yeah, thank you, Vaughn. There's several articles like we've just gone through in which there's a no vote. I want it to be reported in the warrant as to what the minority, as well as, I mean, it's easy enough to say that something passed and you just say Finance Committee approved. But the minority in the Finance Committee has the privilege of being able to explain why the no votes happened. So I'd like to see the reasons why each of these had a no vote. I think the previous speaker did a good job of explaining why they were going to vote no, and I'm in agreement, and I feel that it should be represented in the warrant why there's no votes.
All right. It's usually asked at town meeting if people are interested in why they are, but if you would like that.
Can I second that? Because
Wait a minute.
it's actually.
Wait a minute.
Slow
Let me
down a
finish.
minute.
Sorry. Calm down.
If you want to make a notation, could you send me what you want, and I will put it in as a notation of the dissenters, or however you want it, that's what it is. I would put it in as for the minority report, no pun, but I would be more than happy to include a statement for the 4 on why. Now, the thing is, you have different votes on the 3 different articles, so as long as they're all the same, because you do have, the 2 votes were exactly the same, one was not.
Thank
so-
you for that.
But if you send me the wording you want, I'll make sure it gets in.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay?
Point of order
And
on that?
I'll need that
Mark?
signed affidavit from all the people that that's what they want in there.
Mark, you have something on this?
Yeah, point of order. Usually when we do make recommendations or approvals of why we voted yes, why we voted it down, it was at a meeting. It wasn't in an email.
Correct.
And afterwards, so if that is to be, it should be done now.
I-
Because each individual person votes a certain way, so it can't be just, nothing against you, Mr. Laurie, but Mr. Laurie's.
If you would like them to
thing.
give the reason they would like in the book, that
What's the
would be
reason?
great if you do it, and then,
To the previous
Should be done
speaker,
now.
we've usually, it's true, and the way we've usually done it is that it's usually a consensus at one point in the meeting. It's not just, in the middle of all the articles. It's usually like, okay, here's what we're going to do when we're closing out all of our votes, or we could have done it in advance of when we were doing it.
Well, Mr.
So
Laurie.
I'm open to either way.
We can go back to the 2 or 3 that were here and just.
Yeah,
figure
Mr.
out
Laurie,
what
you
the
said
notes
the previous speaker, the reason was, what was the reason?
The reason was that the money could be used out of their operating budget, not out of free cash, because there's a lot of money that's been used in the operating budget, and that it applies to net school spending as well. Net school
I don't
spending.
think net school spending was mentioned, but the way I heard it was,
Look,
All right,
look.
since I'm going to write the book, this is what I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. The opponents to the articles were concerned with this being from free cash and not being in the school operating budget. That's what I heard. Correct
That
me
is
if I'm
true.
wrong.
No, that's true.
Lisa? I know that you're the one who spoke. That's why I'm confirming with you.
That's right. So first off, I'd like to thank you because that is noted in our town charter to do this. So
That too, right.
did I say it wrong
Yeah, and
again?
that one too.
That one too.
So thank you for that. Yes, so to Dave's point, yes, that I believe it should be from the budget, that the budget was at, the school operating budget was at 7.1%, that they're going to be asking for a debt exclusion.
They're not.
And that.
They're not. It's going to be the building committee that is presenting, not the school. Be clear, it's not the school asking for it.
John, you can
John,
speak to me
excuse
in
me,
a
John.
gentle tone of
John,
voice, please.
It's not the school asking for it.
Tell me nicely, please. Okay.
That is nice. You haven't heard me
I
mad.
believe.
Okay. Well,
Point of order, point of order, point of order.
I want to get the
and I would,
deciding vote.
excuse me.
Done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's have one person at a time. So,
Thank you.
Lisa,
And
you're
I would like
clarifying
to-
the sentence.
And I would also like to add that I would like to see it to be any funds expended to this to be included in the net
That was
school
never
spending.
mentioned before the no vote. I mean,
Well,
we're not writing a whole paragraph here. Biz, do you want to chime in on this?
Yes, I will on the net school spending aspect. Everything that's spent in benefit of the town, capital articles, et cetera, payroll, health insurance, everything goes to net school spending. It's all in there, even special articles.
Thank you for that.
But I thought I read if it was done in a debt exclusion, it would not go to, is that correct? It would not go to net school spending.
Every borrowing for the school department does go. to
Excuse me,
net school
I'm going to
spending.
make a point of order. Net school spending was never mentioned before the vote was taken. I'm not going to add it in now.
Doesn't matter.
The vote's already
And
done.
that doesn't matter. I still have a point of order.
Okay, so we have a sentence or two on this now, correct? All right, thank you. Dave?
Just to correct the record, the school building committee is a recommending body. They don't make decisions, they just recommend. Its school committee is the one who votes in the results that then go to the select board for insertion into the warrant. So to say that, I just want to correct it, that the school committee actually votes to say this is the version of the new school that's going to come in. It was said that they don't have any part in it, and that's
The
not true.
building committee is the one that goes forward with that, but we're really not going to go down that road here.
The building
They're a
committee is the
recommending
one
body.
that's presenting the article, and they're the ones who are actually going to be in control of the funds if they're approved, if you read the article.
But we're
Well,
not
read
going
the
to wander
motion.
down this road too far.
But anyway.
All right, next article.
Well, I don't write shorthand, you know. I will do my shorthand. So you
Luckily,
were
it's on video at
You were
9:12.
concerned at, should be in the budget. You were concerned that their budget had a 7.1% increase.
As
You did-
opposed to
and
the
you
3.8.
did raise the concern about the possibility of a debt exclusion. I'll put it that way.
Thank you, John.
Mark?
Point of order on that. So that's for Article 34, 35, and 36?
That's what I got, all three.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
And since we're on it, I'll go back and ask, on Article 33, do you and Diane want to have any notation in on why you voted against it? Or- I'm serious, I mean, that was right above it, so. If you-
I don't feel the need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
There were other articles, there were no votes. For example, Pratt's Court.
Okay, we're going to go to Article 37 now, though.
All right, so that's that. So the next article would be Article 37, This is a CPC article, and it's the Hebrew Senior Life Affordable Senior Housing. Now, and this is a motion that did get redone from what we had originally. And it's a long one, but it didn't change the numbers, just was, the wording had to be corrected.
Point of order.
Yes?
Did it change the article in any way?
No,
Or the presentation that we heard?
nope.
Okay, thank you.
It's just that the one we had, what got put in there was not what was from the CPC committee, or the CPA. But we had the information given to us prior to the hearing, so it had been emailed out, and it was in part of the backup and all that. So it's nothing that we weren't aware of. It just wasn't in the document we had as we were going through the hearings. But just to prove my point, we did get, matter of fact, I think we got something that night that they gave us a package from the committee on, I can't find it because I left it here so I'd know where it was. We got CPC draft articles and motions for the annual town meeting, and this is all of the CPC articles and charts and everything, and this was presented or given to us prior to the hearing, so the information was all there. It's just that what got printed originally was incorrect. But we did have all of it, Diane. So this is a three-quarter page or so. Let me wet my whistle.
Well,
So for Article 37, the proposed motion that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to borrow from Stoughton Community Preservation Fund anticipated local revenue for a bond term of not less than 20 nor more than 25 years, the amount of $1,300,000, and that the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, be authorized to borrow said sum as authorized under the Community Preservation Program pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, Section 11, and to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance the sum of $1 million to support the design, permitting, and construction by Hebrew Senior Life of a senior housing complex with 200 units of age-restricted affordable housing for seniors on Assessors Map 043, Parcel 003. The amount of $1,300,000 shall be available for Phase 1. The remaining $1 million shall be available for the cost of bonding and for the construction of Phase 2, and provided further that such support is subject to and contingent upon construction of Phase 1 beginning within 3 years of town meeting approval, and Phase 2 construction beginning within 5 years of town meeting approval, and to authorize the Community Preservation Committee and the Select Board to submit on behalf of the town any and all application deemed necessary for grants and/or reimbursements from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or the United States under any state or federal programs for expenditures funded by this article, said gifts or grants to be deposited in the Community Preservation Fund, and to authorize the Select Board to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary to effectuate said project. And I'll move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
motion and a second. Oh, Mark seconded. Yeah, Mark did the second. He's pretty quick.
He's given his quick note.
Jonna.
Thank you, Vaughn. I just wanted to say that, first of all, I felt that the state I feel that the state fundamentally wants to change us into a city, and this is part of the pathway to doing it. This is segueing us into that, and I'm opposed to it for that reason. The other thing I wanted to mention was I had nothing against the Hebrew rehab. Actually, I was for this until I went and talked, heard the presentation, and when a presenter tells me I'm not going to answer something, that just doesn't make me comfortable, and it makes me not want to move forward with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dave, you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I just have comments. I don't agree with borrowing in any of the CPA articles. I don't believe that it was the intent of CPA to do borrowing, that when they were bringing projects to us, it was going to be paid with cash, that it wasn't going to be kind of like over-the-top spending. So the fact is that even though it's got a funding source, the funding source still has to be backed by the good faith of the backing of the town. Our taxpayers, beyond just the source of funding, also back all of our debt, even CPA-created debt. And for those reasons, I'm voting it down. So anybody who's concerned about, the CPA and how it funds projects, I encourage you to vote with me. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa?
In addition to that, I'm also a no vote on this, and that is because this is subsidized housing instead of for-profit housing. That if seniors were able to purchase and not have to pay the $1,600 per month rent, I would have been for this. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold your hands up so I can, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 12
You want
here.
us to hold our hand? It was 6. You
Yeah,
counted
I think
correct,
it's,
John.
yeah, you counted to 6, right?
Yeah, no, I was looking to see, so if it's 6-6, the motion fails.
Okay.
Let me catch up here. Who else was there? There's 3, was it Chet?
It's Dave, Jonna.
Lisa, Chet?
Yeah.
Elliot? Oh, Mark and Diane.
Dave, Larry, Jonna.
I had Dave. All right, that's the 6, so that failed.
Okay, next article on the
Those,
list.
if you don't know, if a motion's made and if you end up with a tie, it's a failure. It fails. So the next article is Article 38, the renovation of town-owned barn on West Street. And that is on the next page. And the next page is that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to approve from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Preservation Reserve account the sum of $230,000 to fund the renovation of the barn on the property at Assessors Map 37, Parcel 34, and I'll recommend that we recommend the motion as written.
Motion and a second. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm going to vote in favor of this. During the deliberations, I didn't really have that fond a connection to the barn. But I thought about it. It's a cash article, and it's not just me who would get enjoyment. I don't think there's one project that's ever been done in the town that 100% of everybody in the town benefits from. So if there's a certain constituency that is interested in historic barns, who am I to say, sorry, I'm only interested in the projects that I would spend time at. So I'm going to change my opinion about that, and I'm probably going to vote yes.
All right, thank you. Diane?
I would assume that where it says they're going to pay cash, it's CPC cash, correct? I'm still a no vote on this. It's nowhere near anything that anybody's ever going to go look at. So no one's looked at it in the last 75 years. Thanks.
All right. Chet?
To you, Mr. Chairman. Has anybody gone up there and actually seen the barn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's worth redoing?
Yes.
You do? Okay, thank you.
Yes, both on the left, the right side.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else?
Motion, anybody else want to chime in on the barn? And
I'd like to ditto Diane's response.
which was that nobody went there for, okay, all right. All right, Mark, you think the barn's worthwhile? All right, perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. Jonna?
I started to lean more towards Dave's opinion because, yeah, you want to have something that everyone can do. And then I'm starting to think, too, we're really not in a financial position to do anything extraneous as much as I really would like to in so many ways. I just don't feel we're in a position to do anything extra. That's the shame of it.
Fawn, through you.
Yes.
I think I could help the previous speaker out, is that the CPA is designed to be able to support capital projects. I don't like borrowing, but capital projects is very, very specific to what their mission, they're created to do these. The money cannot be used for stabilization. It can't be used for funding something that's like critical infrastructure. It can't do any of those things. It can only do these kind of fun projects like this. So it's just a matter of when the projects come up, who's interested in it? Are you interested in helping the people who are interested, or you're just interested in the things that you're interested in? It's one of those kind of things. Yeah.
All right, motion and a second on the barn. Oh, Mark.
Just for them and for whatnot, how much do we have in CPA funds?
You have the fund, how much is available in the CPA funds? I'm sure I got it here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, approximately $7 million.
Thank you.
That's without anything from this year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, okay, let's try this again. All in favor?
Aye. Yeah, raise your hand. All in favor?
Let's get this straight, all right?
Okay. So we got 8.
Okay, 8 yes. And all opposed?
So Lisa, Chet. All right. Lisa, Chet. Who was the other one? Elliot?
Elliot.
Yeah. And Diane.
Okay, next article we have. Article 39.
Hey, don't jump ahead. No, I got shorthand here. The next one is Article 39, Historic Signage, Group 2. And Article 39 is on the same page, and the motion is the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Preservation Account the sum of $17,000 for the purchase and installation of 15 historic signs in Stoughton, and I move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
That's 11-0 with 1 missing.
Uh,
Hurry up. You want to be counted.
Dave, where are you on this? Yes, all right.
12-0.
Yeah, sign it, exactly.
Article 40, which is the Stoughton Youth Baseball Field improvements. This is on the next page. And the proposed motion just to remind you, there was an article passed last year that they're going to rescind that money, and they're looking for additional money. You would vote the whole project, but, you know, it's an incremental change to what was given out last year that the committee's taken back. So the motion is that the town vote to cancel authorization for the expenditure of $145,000 for lighting at Miller Field and scoreboard replacements at Goff Field and O'Day Field, approved under Article 30 at the 2023 annual town meeting, and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance the sum of $241,000 for improvements at the Elm Street complex, including new fences and protective padding, dugout renovations, walkway repairs, 3 new scoreboards, and related electrical work, and other miscellaneous repairs and enhancements. And I'll move we recommend the motion as written in the warrant. Oh, she beat you.
Motion and a second.
She's got you twice now.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none.
Next article is 41, renovation of Marks Field construction phase. So this is proposed motion that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance the sum of $518,000 to fund the construction phase of the renovation of Marks Field. And I move that we recommend the motion as printed in the warrant.
Motion and a second. I think Mark got the second on Mark's Field, so.
He's got the, he's got his fingers going. I mean.
Motion and a second. Okay, motion and a second on this.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on this? No? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none.
Just for the record, I think that the person, Dolores, who keeps our minutes, probably doesn't know who's been seconding anything unless.
Mark Strucker's got them all except for 2, and I'll make sure that she knows which ones.
Okay, thank you.
That's why I asked to have it done
Thank you for that.
through all of them, because then it's easier for Dolores.
I'm just
Next
looking out
article we
for it.
have here is,
The next article is 42, Stoughton Motel conversion. Why do I keep writing the wrong number there? So on Article 42, which is the, let me get over here from Marks Field. The next page is Article 42, Stoughton Motel conversion. Proposed motion that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Community Housing Reserve the sum of $250,000 to support the conversion of the Stoughton Motel into 24 single-resident studio apartment housing units for homeless individuals, and I will recommend that we approve this motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
motion and a second. Dave?
Yeah, just, how come this motion is separate than the others in that it doesn't say cash or borrowing? It doesn't say anything.
Well,
I
under
know when
the
you go to the
Community
document-
Preservation Committee, they recommended as a cash article by the Preservation Committee, and it was 4 to 3 to 1. But
Well,
they're
you're-
telling you it's coming from the Community Housing Reserve.
From the.
It's on the next page,
Because
Dave.
it's saying from the,
Yeah, it's taking the money
Okay.
from the reserve.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other? Diane, you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is for Mark. Does this need any additional zoning to convert this motel?
Do you say zoning?
Zoning, yeah.
No, these types of uses are exempt from zoning.
Okay, anything else, Eric?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment because I wasn't able to be present for our hearing, so I couldn't say it then. But I mean, I always like the CPC articles anyway, and Mark Zemanian knows that. But in the short time that I've been in town government, we haven't really seen any housing-related projects coming from them in spite of the need. And so I was really thrilled to see housing-related articles come forward this year. I'm bummed that, there was resistance to the Hebrew Senior Life, but I did vote in favor of it. And I'm just excited to see this one as well. It's a site that is a little bit of a blight on our community. It's great to see something being done to it, particularly for such a high-need community, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I'm really excited and pleased that this article is before us, and I'm eager to support it. That's all.
All right, thank you. Anything else on this? Lisa?
I'm just going to vote no on this because the presenters are going to go forward with this project anyways.
I didn't hear.
I'd rather not spend CPC money on this project.
Okay. Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? No, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so
8-4, so 8-4. And that's... Okay. I gotta flip the page now. Oh, no graph on that side. Article 43, the Bird Street Conservation Area entryway improvements. Article 43. And this is on the same page. Let me make sure it doesn't run over. Yep. The proposed motion is that the town vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance the sum of $110,000 to fund the design and construction of entryway improvements at the Bird Street Conservation Area, to include an electronic gate monitoring camera, utility infrastructure for the gate and camera, signage and fencing and landscaping and tree work. And I move that we recommend this motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
motion and a second. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to say I recommend this as a yes vote for anybody. This is really kind of right in the wheelhouse of where the CPA does a really good job. And I know Jerry McDonald, does a very good job of putting together the projects and following through. So I think it's a good article to pass. That's all I had to say.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Go to the next article.
Next article is Article 44, Climate Action Plan, Committee Consultant. Okay, Article 44 is on the next page. We're getting there. Article 44, Climate Action Plan Committee Consultant. Proposed motion. I move that the town vote to appropriate $100,000 for the purposes of hiring a consultant or consultants to assist the Climate Action Committee in research, analysis, strategic planning, and preparation of a written report and recommendation outlining how the town can efficiently minimize greenhouse gas emissions and other activity that contributes to climate change, and develop preparedness plans to protect the citizens of the town. Said hiring and expenditures to be subject to approval by the town manager, and further to authorize the Climate Action Committee, together with the town manager, to apply for and receive any available grants which may supplement said appropriation and/or contribute to matching funds toward any such grant, and to meet this appropriation, $100,000 be transferred from free cash. I will make the motion to recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and a second. Lisa?
I'm going to vote no on this for a couple of reasons. One is that the info that they want to produce a report on is readily available from federal, state, and other local towns. And two, because we were told this generation of the report was not going to cost us any money verbally through the presenter, the creator of this plan. And I'll let anybody else give their reasons as well.
Jonna?
It actually was in writing in the Exhibit A of the proposal last year that there would be no cost. So that's why I am definitely not going to vote for it. And plus the information that you referred to, that's true. In addition to that, I got a thumb drive from Bill Roth, okay, and he had tons of information. So this information is readily available, and I don't believe you should get a consultant to get what's readily available. And then even furthermore, this is a little under the state umbrella or the national umbrella. There's so much information there, it's just repetitive, and we don't really have the money to spend on this, and that's my take on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Anything else? Okay, motion and a second on this. All in favor? Okay. All opposed?
You're abstaining? Okay.
Okay, one
So it was
abstain.
1 to 10 to 1. 1, 10, 1. And Laura abstained. Okay. Hey, this will be easier. You only got to write down the one that voted for it.
Okay, next article, we're going to be skipping over 45, 46, 47.
So 40, that's out of all the articles that they had. We now jump to Article 48 because 5, 6, and 7 were not ours. If I may just interject here for one moment. Mr. Tisdale, could you make sure we get the planning board votes for those articles? Thank you very much. It'll save me an email. So the next one that we were assigned was Article 48, which is the rescind dedication of opioid settlement funds to the opioid stabilization fund.
I'm thinking that the majority of us voted no on the last article. Should we input something in the bottom of that, the Finance Committee?
Well, I think there are various reasons why people voted against it. I mean, I don't know. I have my reasons for voting against it. We had a few people give their reasons. Some I might agree with, some I might not, but.
Okay. We're on 48 then?
But we're on 48.
Okay.
All right, and this was to rescind the, wait a minute, we gotta jump ahead now,
can I
because these
just-
zoning articles take up a lot of room.
Yes, Jonna.
It just through you, Ron. It just appears arbitrary if you don't allow a little synopsis on one, but you do on others. And I agree with Diane. I think it should be in there, especially where there was such.
All right, give me a full list of all the objections by who, because they're all different. So if we're going to take the time, I'm going to start. We had 10 objections.
If I might, I just really only heard two. Somebody please correct me. The two.
I didn't give a reason. I voted against it. I didn't give a reason.
John.
So I only heard from two people.
Excuse me.
Why?
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
All I was saying what I heard. You may add or subtract.
You don't understand. The committee is the one that has to vote on what goes in on their book. All right, the committee has to vote to do this. As Mr. Struck mentioned earlier, in the past, when we're going to add notes, it's gone around through the committee. Typically, it's when we fail something, we do give a note.
Again, John.
But it has to be voted by the committee to put it in.
I understand that. And I'm giving you two sentences to add, and then I didn't say the committee can't vote.
Vaughn, I could help on this.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
The two reasons, if I may continue, was that there is a plethora of information available elsewhere on Fed, state, and local level and we were told that it would not cost the town any money. That's two. Now, anybody else can speak. I wasn't for...
I'll go along with
But I'm going to stop it right now, because you say those two sentences. Okay, but hang on. You say those two sentences, that's your reason, John's reason. You don't know why, forgive me, John, you don't know why John voted no.
Correct.
So to
He may
bundle-
add to that. I'm not saying he cannot
hang
add
on.
to that.
But he might add to that for something else. So it doesn't mean he agrees with your reasons, though. So unless, hang on a second, Dave. Unless everyone who voted no on it agrees on the same reason, you can't bundle everyone's reason
I'm not
together.
asking you to bundle it. Take it to a vote. You guys are argumentative when there is no argument on the table. Please feel free to take it to a vote. When I speak and make a suggestion, I'm not speaking for the whole committee. I'm speaking to myself or from myself or making a suggestion. I believe I just heard Diane concur, but please feel free to continue running the meeting for whatever vote you feel you need. I am not demanding anything. Okay? Is that clear?
I could help.
And that's why I said I need 10 people to give me their reasons, because that was the vote. 10 people voted against it.
Dave.
So I need to know what their reasons were.
I'd like to just add, very simply, with the distinction on this is that the no votes were in the majority. It's not a matter of writing a report on the majority. It was the minority who needed to be recognized. The minority was a yes vote.
Good point,
And
Dave.
the no vote, I don't think you have to write a report on the majority. You really need a report for the people in the minority. That's just my take on it.
Eric.
So my memory of the last couple of years is that generally when, in the rare moment when the majority voted no, the committee, then somebody made a motion to add particular text to the Finance Committee report, usually scripted by Jess Minor.
Who did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Right.
And for example, that was on the fire station when we voted so heavily against it.
Correct.
But we put a reason in why.
And so that reason, that description was then voted by the committee. And so even those of us who weren't part of the no vote would then, vote on the motion to include the text as to the reason for the failure of the article. And I'm happy to make that motion if that would help this moment. But if you want to collect that data first so that we have language to work with.
I'd like to see your language.
I mean,
I'd like to.
actually, well, I think John's collection of statements might help that. But
Right.
I'll gladly make that motion once you feel like you've got the language to use. If that makes
Well,
sense.
that's why I need to hear
Yeah.
from the 10 people that voted no.
Eric, is that in a form of a motion?
Because as
Not
Mark
quite yet.
had indicated on the previous one.
Motion pending, I think, maybe, if Vaughn allows it, if it's in order. I don't know.
You want to make a motion for what?
Oh, well, as I'm saying, based on precedent, making a motion that includes the language to put in the finance report as to why the majority declined to support it. Because that's my memory of what we've done in the past. I was simply offering to do that now, if that would help resolve this so we can move on.
Look, traditions get created, Vaughn, over time, and it's just honoring tradition, and I think that's
Well,
perfect.
the majority voted on every other articles too. But we didn't put reasons in.
No, because there
I
wasn't,
agree.
nobody felt to say anything, and we just heard people say.
So do
Lauren?
we have to put a reason?
No, we don't have to put a reason. No, this.
I would add, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, that, often, Laura, what'll happen, sorry.
Dave, hang on a second. Eric,
Often the question will then come up at town meeting. Somebody will get up and ask during technical questions, why was it voted down?
Agreed.
And so this does it would give us a chance to preemptively just put that out there. It saves a good 5 minutes of technical questions, which goes on forever, right? So it's just a way of being preemptive in terms of that, because it is rare that we as a committee unanimously vote something down, or not unanimously, but do vote something down.
Overwhelmingly.
All right.
Dana, that's how to help.
But it may just be that if the reasons are too varied, maybe it doesn't fit into a neat finance report. And so all of you that voted against it, maybe just need to plan to speak on that at town meeting so you can describe it.
If one would
I
let
think
you, I'd be in favor of hearing that.
let's hear the motion.
Well, that's the thing. like John was saying, I think we need to know what the various reasons are.
My concern is that
but
every individual might have voted no for a different reason.
That's what I'm
if
saying.
there were
So-
one sentence that everyone agreed on who voted no, that'd be a different story.
And I don't know if that we
I don't know that
It's
that's
just-
Actually, I think there are
People, we're
three
all
of us.
sitting here. We're sitting here. Ask
Jonna,
us.
Lisa, myself, that all voted on the exact same two sentences.
And we are also willing to
Don't know if
hear
anybody
John's
else
and
did or not.
anybody else who dissented.
But
Okay.
I think also the question is the other no votes, are they comfortable sharing their reasons? Because if not, then we can't really complete the exercise.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
That's exactly where I am
As
on
I
it.
said from the beginning, when somebody asked about putting the note in, I said, I want to poll the 10 people to get all the reasons.
Correct.
And we'd probably be done getting them by now.
Okay, what are your reasons?
So
You already gave your reason.
let me,
Lisa.
wait a minute, but I got to write them down. Okay, we had 10 people, so, Jonna, I'm going to start with you because you're over there. We'll go right around. No. What were your reasons?
It's,
Okay, what two sentences then, Lisa? I'm listening.
And I'm formulating, so,
Okay,
okay.
good, because I write slow, Speak slow because I write slow.
So there is a mountain or plethora, whichever
Plethora.
word you want to
I heard
write,
you say that. Plethora of information.
at the Fed, state, and local levels to
Yeah.
write the report
or,
without hiring a consultant.
So you have a plethora of information at the federal, state, and local level available.
Right. A consultant would be redundant.
Okay, making a consultant redundant. How's that?
Perfect. And the second one is that we were told by the petitioner of the committee that this report would cost the taxpayers $0, no estimated.
This was in the FY23 presentation.
It was in the
It was in the
town
exhibit.
meeting.
Yeah. that
Town
was
meetings, it said
of FY24,
estimated
I'm
cost
sorry.
none, is to be
So-
precise.
It was in the exhibit in writing.
Hang,
just so
hang
you
on a
know.
second. We're going down the line.
Okay, sorry.
So the
And that's it.
proponent of
The committee,
the Climate Action Committee
correct.
presented the article stating no cost, right?
To the
Was
taxpayers.
Stated at ATM 24 that there was no cost.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so, all right, those are the two sentences I got. You're going with those two? Okay, so I'll tie you two together. Diane? I'm going with those two as well. Okay, there's DD, DN. Here we go. Chet, you were against it.
Yes, I was. I'm against it because I don't think Stoughton should have a climate action committee. We have enough from the federal, state, and the federal and state. And the other thing I voted no for is the $100,000.
So you don't think we should have the committee?
No. That was
Okay, and then the next one?
well, he's agreeing with the other one, it's the money.
the
He
$100,000.
He's
Yes.
in agreement with the others on the third one.
So that's in addition to the other two? That's the addition to what they have said?
The $100,000.
Okay,
Yes.
but what if already some of the no votes
I know
don't
it.
agree with any of that? So that's kind of what my issue is with this. To put in a statement that's
I know
got
it.
10 sentences.
I'll end
is a
up
bit
putting it in
much.
by name, because,
Okay,
They can
back
answer
to
that
Eric's
publicly.
point about just putting the stuff in, I think she worded it as some members felt, and then some other members felt, so.
Jess never had 10 sentences, just summed it up in like one, maybe two sentences.
That's what she said.
And everybody
Some
agreed with
members
that.
felt
Elliot?
this way.
I agree with Lisa and Chet and Donna. Same reasons. Diane?
I'm sorry.
Mark?
The same reasons.
Personal reasons.
Okay. That's fine. Big V?
I'm choosing not to answer this. Personal reasons too, which is why I don't think that this
I
is
know.
productive.
I
I don't think it's a
understand.
productive use of this committee's time.
Because you're getting the same thing from me. I have my own reasons.
If we can't iron it down to 1 or 2 sentences the committee agrees with, then
That's a big tree.
It is a big tree.
So I think that if people are given education on the different parts of climate issues, we are adults and we can take the information provided and do with it what we feel is right for us personally. And then I do not agree with the $100,000 because there was supposed to be no cost.
All right, so I'm just going to condense it. Propose with no cost. And you think there's enough information out there, people could make their own decision?
You know, the Climate Action Committee is great, disperse the education, offer classes or whatever, but let the adults make their own decisions. It doesn't have to be.
Okay. She said the climate education is fine, but the adults should be able to make up their decision on how they want to handle it. Condensing it, but.
okay, so we
So
don't have a
now I've got a
sentence.
paragraph, so.
Okay. Well, I'm not in favor of any of those reasons, so
I know.
I don't know how we can go forward with some no's that don't agree with that. So I really don't think we can put
I'd like to
something
make a
in the-
motion that we accept the paragraph that John answered.
And I second it.
Okay. I was going to offer language, if that helped, but it's okay. You've made the motion.
Well, why don't we throw yours in on why you voted for it? Because you're the only one.
It's quite
All right, whatever. I honestly don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either. I think it's crazy that we're.
But I will tell you this, when it goes
yes,
in,
Mark?
it's going to be attributed to those who have the reasons.
Mark.
We have to take a vote. There was a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to the maker of the motion, would you accept additional language? Not every reason included was shared by every member voting no, and further, not every member voting no shared their reasons.
And I don't agree with any of the reasons that are in the paragraph. I want to put that out there too.
I
Right,
would
thank you.
I would love to add that to the motion. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, motion and a second then. Do we have a second on this? Okay.
Made that, Eric?
Yeah, all in favor?
Who seconded
Diane, John a second. Motion and a,
Wait a minute, who seconded it?
John. Motion and a second to add a paragraph that not everyone who voted no agreed on. Diane, your motion was to add the paragraph.
Add the paragraph to our comments on the bottom, the financial.
All right, motion and a second, all in favor? You guys are voting before I'm even calling for a vote. Okay, we got,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
okay,
So I'm assuming
I
that
guess.
People will hear this.
All opposed?
you were abstaining again, right? So it's 7 to 4 to 1. And the abstentions, please hold up your hand so I can just,
I'm voting a no. on
me
it.
too.
So you mean you
That's
voted no?
3. So who was the fourth?
Mark?
Mark, okay. Oh, all right, so that was Lauren, Mark, the big V, and me.
Okay, now we can move to the next article. We'll move to the next article.
Can we, and I'll put the reason in that we had 4 dissenters, and I'll put their reasons in that they didn't.
We're going to go to the next article, Article
That was
48.
mentioned. He wants that noted, and it'll be noted. So Article 48,
Why are we skipping the other articles again? I
They're
forgot.
not assigned to the Finance Committee. Article
Next-
48 is
No
to
money
rescind
involved.
dedication of opioid settlement funds to the opioid stabilization fund.
okay. 48, and this is after all the zoning ones and so forth that we don't have. So this is the proposed motion that the town vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53, 4, added by Section 9 of Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023 to revoke Article 64 of the 2023 Annual Town Meeting, which approved the dedication of 100% of the opioid settlement funds to be received to the Opioid Settlements Stabilization Fund, established under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, effective for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023. Now, I'm going to read the explanation to try and avoid questions. Prior guidance from the Mass Department of Revenue required municipalities to create a stabilization fund and dedicate settlement funds received in the opioids litigation settlement to that fund. Section 9 of Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023, signed by the governor on December 4th of 2023, amended General Law Chapter 40, Section 5B, and created a process for opioid settlement funds to be deposited in a special revenue fund without the need for a dedication to a stabilization fund. Accordingly, the opioid stabilization fund is no longer needed due to this change in state law. All funds previously dedicated or deposited into the stabilization fund will be transferred to the special revenue fund.
Okay, motion.
I will move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Oh,
Dave?
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
question.
sure. Dave?
I have a question and
Okay,
a concern.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds to me like it's an option, it's an opt-out option because the laws will change. It doesn't outlaw the opioid stabilization, it just allows you to remove it. That's what it does, correct?
Biz?
If I may, Mr. Chair, to the members of the body, the opioid stabilization funds, in order to preserve the revenue when the opioid funds first came out, if we didn't set up stabilization funds, the money would go into the general fund, and then you'd have to vote it out of free cash to be able to utilize the funding. So it's taken a year and a half roughly for the state to come back and say we can do a special revenue fund. So what that means with the special revenue fund is that the, I can't remember the name of the committee, the opioid committee, they can actually expend funds now for the benefit of the community for opioid training and education purposes. And unless we change this, they won't be able to spend the money without a vote of transfer from stabilization to fund the projects.
2/3, right?
Yeah, 2/3.
At
So-
town meeting.
At town meeting. And this allows them to put into action the intention of the opioid settlement funds.
Well, I still have the floor, right? Do I still
Yeah, do you have a follow-up question on that?
Yeah, so my concern is that even though all those things are great in terms of, having this avenue to be able to do projects, it goes from what it looks to me like the ability to have an earmark towards an opioid problem to all of a sudden not really having an earmark, so that it becomes
Biz?
good luck getting your projects done because we don't know if town meeting's going to really want to vote.
Biz, do you have clarification on this?
Yes, a special revenue fund is set up for a specific purpose. And so what's going to happen is this stabilization fund is going to have a name change where it's going to say opioid revolving fund, and it's only for the use of opioid uses. Now, there's strict guidelines on the spending of opioid funds. So I believe the committee's been set up, they're in charge, they report to the state, and we have to ensure that the funding is actually used for that purpose. And that's the reason why it's set up like this, so they can take the action, and we are specializing the money. We're not using it for anything else.
This is a place that it'll earmark towards opioid problems. It will be set into an account that could only be spent on opioid-related projects.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where, so this article will move that into this other place.
And it's the same thing.
It changes the name of the fund.
It's just changing the name from stabilization to revolving.
Okay.
It's still specialized.
It's still, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Jonna?
So just for clarification, you're just like fixing a mistake so it can be in the proper, but the protocols are all followed properly then, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. We're following the guidelines that were set forth by the Department of Revenue at the state level.
Thank you.
I do have a question now.
Do you have a question, Diane?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, how much in these funds have we received?
We have
since all this-
approximately $200,000 in the fund right now. I believe it's on my revenue report for you.
Okay.
Let me take a peek.
Thank you.
230, 154, 42.
And this schedule fund's coming in for like the next 10, 15 years, so.
Lisa, you have a question on this?
Yep, very quickly. So you answered one of the questions, so it's just a name change. And I heard you say the word revolving, but I don't see it in here. But does that not matter?
No, it does not matter. It's a special revenue fund, so special revenue funds are set up in different fashions, and this is how it's allowed to be handled by the Department of Revenue.
Okay, and one follow-up question, Vaughn. So when you said there's strict guidelines,
Yes.
who is required, who's auditing those guidelines? Is it Mary Jane to make sure, so it's not, okay, got
No,
it.
they've got their guidelines, and they have to report to the state every year as well, so, and there's
Thank-
checks and balances on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Anzavino?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I understood what was going on, and I was saying, okay, fine. However, you said this is going to be revolving fund now?
I
We-
believe the state is special revenue revolving, and it doesn't,
Because we have an article about the revolving funds and where they come from and who's in charge of them and so forth. So I just want to be clear, because if there's a question on, I understood you have a special revenue. It's an earmark, goes into a special revenue fund. But at the same time, and that's fine if that's what they're going to do, I would have liked to have seen all this additional material as far as how it's handled, who's responsible for it, what the reporting is, and so forth. And we typically require that prior to our hearings in order to put it in a book. So if any of that came in now, you'd be looking at making a few hundred copies to get it out at town meeting, because it won't go in the book now.
these guidelines have been out for 2.5, 3 years, so they aren't new guidelines. They're the guidelines that were set up when the opioid settlements first came into play. I think it was 2002. So those guidelines have been out there for many years. They aren't anything new. Even when you set up the stabilization fund, the guidelines were
But
exactly the same.
the difference being, to take money out of a stabilization fund, town meeting has to do a 2/3 vote to remove the money. If this goes into a special revenue fund, that the disbursement of those funds are no longer at the town meeting approval
Correct.
level.
That is correct.
So
I'm not.
if it goes special revenue, then who does have the ability to spend the money out of that fund? Would it be the person that's in the on the opioid?
You have a specific opioid
Department?
committee, and I'm not sure when the committee was set up. Stephanie Patton. And
Well, I mean, I know Stephanie's in charge of, she was part of the Oasis, all that.
Right, but the committees are
My
typically.
point being that
Yep.
with this change, all the details have not been provided. And my concern is that when you go to town meeting and you don't have all the details, you're liable to fail. You might fail here. I mean, who knows? But that's my concern. And these are things I think that should have been provided. I understand the reason they want to do it. And I really didn't have a problem with that until things are coming up now.
He's
that-
saying it because once we vote, we can't add new material into the warrant. We could only put in the warrant what we have at this moment in time when we vote.
Right,
So,
and
yeah.
if it's not voted at this point in time, you can go back and you can try and vote it in November, but you're going to be tying the hands of the opioid committee who wants to get out the education and everything else they need in requirement to the opioid funding requirements. Now, why you didn't get this information 2.5 years ago when the stabilization fund was set up, I can't answer that, but it's the same information that
No,
was
but I
there
mean,
before.
people understand, if it's a stabilization fund, there's an understanding, you need to come to town meeting to get the
Correct.
money. So that's the control, regardless of, because if you came in and wanted money, you would have to explain why you want it, what
Correct.
it's going for, and that it's following all the rules, and that's fine. But, so there was that level of control by the legislative body for that money to be spent. And to just move it to a special fund, which is fine, special revenue fund, and I'm sure there are rules and so forth on it. I myself, I have no idea who's controlling it, what's needed to do it. You may, yeah, you might have to report and so forth, but, you know, somebody has to make a decision, we're going to take the money, and what if they do something that isn't supposed to be done? I don't know.
Well,
So that's my concern now, is that we really don't know how this would work.
Mary Jane, do you know who's on the opioid committee?
So I know one person is Stephanie Patton, and she now reports to Chief McNamara.
Yep.
I don't know all the other people.
Oh, she reports to the chief?
Right.
Yeah, typically how the committees work is it's a member of the police department, the fire department, the school committee, the health department. It's a multifunctional committee. It's not just one person who
And
is in
I
charge.
wasn't even aware of the committee or its makeup.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm
That's-
just
that-
saying, this is the concerns I have now.
That's what the law states. You know, how you had done it previously, I can't answer to that. I can only allude to what the restrictions are on it.
All right, Dave?
Yeah, just to close the door on it, is that the committee, is it a recommending body, or do they literally have disbursement control?
They have
So
disbursement control.
They have that control?
sir.
Okay.
All right. You had a question, Diane? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
1, 2, 3, what do we got? Yeah, I'm
put me down.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Sure.
5, 6, 7,
Yes.
8.
Okay.
There was 8
all opposed?
opposed,
1, 2, 3. 3 opposed?
3. Okay, and that
One
was...
left, okay.
Who was... All right, Chet, Mack, and myself, because Laura's gone. Laura left at 10:05. Dolores, Laura left at 10:05. That's Laura Gunn, not Lauren Morris.
Okay, next article. Good article. Yeah, I think it's Article 49.
It is. You know, I'm not a secretary. I don't do shorthand. Article 49, Civil Service Revocation. To see if the town, I'm going to have to, because the motion is that the town vote to approve Article 49 as printed in the warrant. And I'm going to make a motion that we recommend the motion that's printed in the warrant. And if you wish, I will read you what's in the warrant.
I think you did a
Since-
good job of just
since-
reading the
since
sentence.
that's what you got to
I
do.
think you read the sentence very well.
Well, it says that the proposed motion is
As
to-
written in the warrant.
written in the warrant. So hopefully everybody's read the warrant.
Beautifully done, beautifully done.
Hopefully everybody's read the warrant.
Well, there's time now, but anyway, motion in a second. Okay, anything on this? Lisa? Oh, I thought you had a question, the way you were raising your hand. Chet, you have a question?
Yes. Do we know how many towns or cities that removed from or request to be removed from civil service?
I don't know if they mentioned it that night.
I think it was a couple hundred.
I honestly
Lisa,
don't.
you have an answer on this?
I recall the chief saying that a bunch of towns, because they have competition.
A bunch. Okay.
A bunch.
There are a number
As my
of
niece would
towns
say, a
that
bunch.
Okay, so,
But
You could
Bushel,
Vaughn.
Beck, or,
okay, so
Vaughn,
Eric,
do
I'm
have
sure
the-
you have an answer.
sadly not on me. I do have that information at home, and I'm happy to, well, we're about to vote on it, so. That doesn't really help. I want to say it's at least 30.
I'd rather note taker's gone.
I want to say it's at least 30. I wish I had a better memory. Crap. That's on the record, Mike. But it's a significant enough number, both that have already left and are currently seeking to leave, that it spurred a special legislative committee to try to respond to it and fix the system before more leave. So without a precise number, it's substantial enough that it's made the State House respond. So that I can at least offer that with some certainty.
So it must be at least a bunch then.
Yes.
Sounds pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing right now.
I'd like to just say I am in favor. I don't think this kind of thing lives in a vacuum, though. I think that the town has to really fund the police, to make sure that we are an attractive town to come to. When you do this kind of thing, you can't just pay the people you're trying to attract on one hand, and on the other hand, I don't think that people should just be able to get trained and then hop, skip, and a jump out to other towns. So there should be some kind of an incentive set up so that they don't just take off after being trained, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So those 2 points I just wanted to make, but I'm in favor.
You had something to say, Diane? I can tell.
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Long. I thought Chief McNamara made a very decisive presentation of the reasons why, and I think we should go with her recommendation.
Move the question. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking there's at least 31. I'm thinking there's 31, seriously. Jonna?
Through you, Vaughn, Diane, I agree with you. I think she's the expert in this, and I think we should rely on her expertise.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any other? Oh, John, yes.
I'm going to express an opinion. I don't normally have one, but I will express one now.
Weren't you on the subcommittee for public safety?
Well, for all the years we had.
All the years until your last year.
First year on the committee, then the rest of them were chairing it. I had concerns about this only because going into the contracts, and I'm sure the moderator is going to have everything worked out, because to approve all the contracts, and then if this thing fails, it makes everything else moot. So I'm sure the moderator has this in mind on how he's going to handle all the articles, and I'm sure he's already worked it out. My concern with this, and I expressed it that night, and I'm going to express it again, I know the response was, well, you got to give something to get something. They're going to have anybody that's already working under civil service is going to retain all the rights they have under civil service. But we're giving a pretty good stipend. We're giving them a pretty good bump that's going to be there forever to come out of civil service. And it's only been the police now. The fire are still working on it. They have not agreed to anything yet. So I just have a concern that I understand both chiefs, and as I said, I watched the meeting, and I understand the need that they see to get rid of it because it's a hindrance for them to hire. But we did recently hire 6 or 7 police, and we've done it before, but I understand their concerns, and I want to support them as much as I can with that. My biggest concern is to pay someone to come out of it, yet you're going to retain all the rights you had while you were in it. It just, in my mind, does not make sense. That's all. I just letting you know my reasons on why I'm against what they're doing.
Eric?
Just 2 pieces. One, since I thought off the top of my head that 36 towns had left civil service. According to an article in Brookline News from March of this year, it is 37 that have left the statewide system in the last decade. So we can correct that for the record. And I'll just share my own thoughts briefly, since I won't be at town meeting to do it. I suspect I'll also be a rare no vote on this. simply because generally I'm in favor of fixing systems before abandoning them. And I've been following the work of the legislative committee that's trying to address towns' concerns about this in terms of adding flexibility, increasing frequency of exams, and so on. I personally would think it's worth it to see where those recommendations and improvements go before making this drastic a decision. So now I have shared that opinion, and it can be out there. Thank you.
I'll add that to the book.
Lisa?
Just real briefly, I'm for this. At some point when institutions have bad policy or the policy no longer works, it's time to make a change. And I agree with the chief.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, what do we
Count
want?
the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, all opposed?
That means it's 7 to 4 then, right? Unless somebody.
Okay, hang on. We're going to do this again?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
All in favor.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 to 3. Ask for all opposed so I can see the hands. All opposed? Okay. I know there's 3. I can count. I can add. It's only 11 people.
I
Give me
think
8.
Eric had some really good points.
Subtract 8 from 3. Next article.
I think Eric had good points too, but I think the chief has been in front of us for years asking for this.
The next article is Article 50, accept MGL 41, Section 110A. And if I may throw it out, I know you've asked, Mark, but please make sure we get all the general laws referenced in here so we can get them in the book. That's going to be done this weekend, so they got to work fast. Article 50 on the next page is accept MGL Chapter 41, Section 110A, and that is the town vote to accept General Law Chapter 41, Section 110A as printed in the warrant. And you may recall this allows the clerk's office to remain closed on Saturdays and treat it as a legal holiday for purposes of calculating the time frame for filing matters in that office or taking any other action. But that was the point, that they could count Saturdays as a holiday so they didn't have to come in and work meeting those dates. Makes it a little more flexible. And I'll move that we recommend the motion as written.
Second.
Motion and a second. What was the question? Yeah, you can have a question. Just make sure you turn the mic on so I can hear you.
Put that mic to green.
All right. So is this just during voting season or?
No, this has to do not just voting, but it says for Saturdays as a legal holiday when calculating filing deadlines such as voter registrations or submissions of nomination papers.
Okay.
So it allows them, when they count the time frame you have to submit by days, they don't have to count, they count Saturday as a legal holiday. In other words, if that date happened to fall on a Saturday, they're mandated to come in and have the office open for people to be able to turn those papers in or for the filings in.
Okay.
So it allows them not to have to work on a Saturday, and they can skip that as a day counted for their time frame. My
Okay. Eric?
I think I missed this night too. Without any kind of cost effect, why is this ours? Sorry if that got explained already and I just didn't, and I missed it.
Because Rules Committee assigned it to us?
It just did. In the past, haven't we, we've typically voted to refer to town meeting when it's that sort of thing, or am I just being pedantic? I think I'm being pedantic. I'll answer one question.
It's happened before, not a lot, though.
We got zoning
We have
articles.
occasionally been assigned articles that a question is raised, why will we assign this? There's
Yeah,
no
like,
money.
We've been zoning.
And unfortunately, the Rules Committee assigns it, you have no choice but to hear it. So, well,
Elliot?
they say no cost, but there's actually a savings. If you don't have people working on a Saturday, you'd be paying them time and a half to work, on the weekend. So I guess in that regard, there would be a cost involved as far as
Elliot?
Going to pay workers?
John explained that perfectly.
Thank you.
Because of the overtime and everything else.
One for me.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether, like, if, let's say, you have to get deadline in 2 weeks, and do they count Saturday in the 14 days, or do they subtract that from the 14-day of counting because it's now a holiday? I don't know what they do with holidays now, so
You
they skip over it in the counting of the 14 days.
You go to the next workday.
It's not counted, it's like erased as a counted day.
It's similar to,
You don't,
when you're given, like when we have to post meetings,
yeah.
you don't count the weekends, you don't count holidays, it's just not counted
It's
in the
not counted
timeframe that
as
you
part of it,
have.
right? It's like, yeah.
It becomes, you got to use working days.
Like working days, got it, thank you.
Okay, motion and a second, right? Anything else on this? Okay, all in favor? All opposed?
All right. That makes it a majority report.
We're not doing
We
it.
loved it.
Not doing that, so.
Okay, the next article we were assigned was Article 51, single-serving drinking water plastic bottle reduction bylaw. And I guess we got this because it has fines involved, I guess, I don't know. But in their wisdom, it was assigned, so we followed the rules. And the motion, oh my God.
Where is the motion?
I'm sorry, I have to say this. I made note, we have petitioned articles, unfortunately, there's no one here. But we have, I think, 3 petitioned articles that don't actually have a motion written like all the other ones. But so I'm not sure, but I'm going to take a look. I got to see how the article itself is written now. So 51 is a single.
Just the first paragraph is good enough.
An article is not the same as a motion. So I want to go through this. I saw this earlier, and I meant to try and get a response. However, so this one is the single-serving drinking water plastic bottle reduction bylaw. Now, there is a line before it, to see if the town will vote to amend the town code by adding the article as printed in the warrant below. So even though it doesn't say proposed motion, I read that as they put this article in with that intent, and that's what I read as their motion. So it's to see if the town will vote to amend the town code by adding the article as printed in the warrant below. And I'm going to make a motion that we recommend that as written in the book. Unless you want me to read the page in half.
Motion and a second. Dave?
Oh, sorry, Mark? You get it, Mark?
As a petition article, I'd like Finance Committee to seriously think about passing this through as refer to town meeting and not take an up-down vote on the merits at all. Just let it go through.
Why?
Because I think that petitioned articles should just not be prejudiced by a standing committee. They should just go straight through to town meeting and let it get vetted there.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
if I might respond with my opinion on that?
Sure.
We could do that with every single article because we're prejudicing whatever we say.
I'm saying that
And
petitioned articles have a special place.
petitioned
apart from
articles
the-
go in because they had the signatures and they have no choice but to put them in. But I don't think it's fair if we're assigned the article not to take it up. I mean, that's my opinion. That's all. Just an opinion. So I'm not going to read the other, I'm not going to read the page and plus. So.
Okay, Elliot,
just
Elliot,
so
you have something
The
on this?
effective date would be 90 days after it's approved at the Attorney General, just in case you're wondering.
Okay, Elliot, you have a question on this, comment?
Well, to sort of make a statement in reference to the article and the merits of it. And the reason I think that it ended up in the Finance Committee is because there's fines attached to it.
Yep.
okay? And I believe John may have alluded to that. So, in all fairness, I think we should, in fact, discuss the merits of the article and take a vote on it. And if there's a great deal of division within the Finance Committee, do the majority-minority reports if that is amenable to the rest of the crowd. The rest of the bunch.
Okay. Any other comments on this? Jonna?
Thank you, Vaughn. I just wanted to say that when we got rid of the plastic bags a little while back, then we had to re-implement the use of plastic bags in the trash. And then... Okay.
I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at what happened.
Okay. And then...
Let's try to stay on this article, though, okay?
I am.
All right, thank you.
It's in the article. Yep, it is. And then you bring your own clean, reusable bottle. Well, not everyone cleans theirs out. And, you know, in wintertime with things going around, I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. I don't think that's a very good pursuit. And then the other thing I wanted to say is that they don't follow a trajectory, like with the plastic bags when they got rid of them. So we switched over to paper bags, and that means more trees were cut. I mean, we're affected because we cut down trees for the paper bags. So
Let's try to stay on the plastic bottle article, though, please.
that is in there. It's in there.
Okay.
Yeah. But I did go a little off, so I'll give you that. We'll split it 50-50. How's that? But that's all I had to say, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you for giving me the time, Vaughn.
You're welcome. Lisa?
I would like to second her motion in terms of thinking this through, and it's a tad bit dictatorial.
Okay. Elliot?
Well, speaking of the merits or lack thereof of this particular article, I don't think it's fair to penalize the merchants that use bags for the convenience of the customers, and whether it's plastic bags or plastic bottles and everything else, it doesn't cure any problem. It just inconveniences everybody else, and it just penalizes people for no good reason. Thank you.
All right. Mark?
I'm just, part of the language that I'm wondering about or questioning is, it says to see if the town will vote to amend the town code by adding the article as printed. But where is it getting added in the warrant? What section, what?
You're talking,
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
I believe, Mark, I had a similar question, because normally when you see something added to the town code, about, usually they have to have a section number, they give all the things so you know where it's going to end up. And I believe, like if Mr. Tisdale was looking to add something, I think you would find that they would go through council and they would pick a section and they would have everything enumerated in that fashion. Because I had the same question myself. Not enough for me to say I'd vote against it because of it, because somebody's certainly going to, I would think, ask that question at town meeting, if this is to form, because this is one of the issues when you have a petitioned article, if they don't have an attorney go through it and everything, the board has no recourse but to put it in, because it had all the right signatures and everything. And you'll find out at town meeting from council if this is actually good to form and something that would be an article that you can legally vote on. If it's not true to form, they'll be told that.
Vote on it because it isn't.
But I mean, that would be my thought as far as all the time I've been around. That's what I would think is going to happen. But
So can we legally vote on it if it's not correct?
well, we can vote on anything they give us. We don't set the form and so forth. It's in I mean,
Yeah, you could say no.
you
just
can say no because of it.
Because of the flaw.
Because of many things,
If
but,
it's flawed, you could say no because it's flawed.
well, we think it might be, but I'm not a lawyer either, so.
Individuals who have a concern about a flaw can vote no because of a perceived flaw.
A perceived, right. I mean, I wouldn't say there is one, but I agree in the past that I have seen that where they have everything in there, but.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on
I'm
it?
just going to say one thing. I think it gets into some overreach. It's going to put a burden on town employees, looking to fine and so forth. And frankly, in this day and age, if you want to reduce the plastic bottle and so forth or what have you, and I know that we were told they weren't trying to ban it, but if you're not trying to ban it and you're just making it more difficult, if you happen to shop at Roach Brothers, you'll buy them over there, you're still going to bring them back over, I mean? So to me, I'm going to vote against it. I just think it's going too far, and that's all I have to say on that, as Forrest would say.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. All in favor of yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There's one. Opposed? Your hand up? You?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I had to make sure, I don't want to just.
Okay.
And would you like me to put your minority report in? Okay.
Okay.
Because you're not going to
Next.
be there.
I said my piece at the hearing. Anybody
Next
who really
article.
wants to know can watch it on SMAC.
Move to Article
Just wanted to check.
52.
The next article we have, which is the last one before we go back to budget and stabilization, is the sidewalks on Turnpike Street from Central Street to Park Street design petitioned article. And again, this one is just to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds in the Treasury, if any, state, federal grants, or borrow a sufficient sum of money per General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, to pay for the engineering survey, design services for sidewalks. I'm just going by the boldness in here, which will be corrected. On Turnpike Street from Central Street to Park Street, approximately 1.2 miles, including, if necessary, land acquisition and/or easements and all other work required to complete the design of the new sidewalk or take any other action relative thereto. And the estimated cost on this was $1,401,444. And it will be excluded from the sunset restrictions. But I'll move that we recommend the motion as written in the warrant.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Lisa?
I have two questions. What does that mean when you say it will be excluded from the sunset? Oh, I think I know what you mean.
There's a
The 3 years,
sunset-
the 3
There's a
years.
sunset in there that you only have so much time. You'd have to go back to the board and
Okay.
get an extension, whatever. And he wants to
I get it.
exempt this one, so.
Sorry. So I'm going to be a no on this simply because of the
person
cost
who-
of,
The person who submitted in.
What was that, Lisa?
I'm just going to say I'm against this only because of the cost of it, and again, because it's going to be part of the debt, and we need to get a handle on what we're doing with the debt in our town. But I do think, I don't understand why the road doesn't have sidewalks. It's just a timing issue for me.
Well, it probably doesn't have them because they've never done this article before. Just. I'm
You're
just
such a
guessing.
comedian, Vaughn.
Did you see that?
Okay, anything else on this?
The big.
Diane?
And I've served on committees with Mr. Murphy before, and this is nothing to him, but I would much have preferred this article to come from our town engineer and have them present it. Thank you.
All right. Elliot?
There may be a need for the sidewalk. I'm not sure how many people use it, but the very fact is that they should not have excluded it from the sunset. That makes it a project that could go on in perpetuity. So I'm voted against it for that reason.
I find it ironic, it was petitioned by the person who submitted the article to get the sunset law into place. And I also agree with a previous speaker. I think this is something that should come from the town professionals on where they think we should be doing things and what the priorities are. I'm not saying they don't really need them here or it shouldn't be a priority, but we do have professional staff that looks at the roads, the sidewalks, you know, all the infrastructure, and they try and determine the best way to go. So for me, yeah, I'm not going to vote in favor of it.
Okay.
Dave?
Yeah, Vaughn, I know it's late, but I figured we have our expert in the room. Can we at least get a sense of whether or not this had enough merit, where it just wasn't enough of a, like, does this have any merit at all? You know, there should be some feedback.
I don't really feel comfortable having a.
Have a town.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
So it's
Yeah,
okay,
to have town staff decide what has merit with the words that you use. I don't feel comfortable with that.
So a different way to. Okay.
I just don't think it's. I don't think it's really fair.
Never mind. I'll strike that.
You've been talking to Tom.
It's just that this article comes up at the end where I was half asleep when it was presented, and I'm almost half asleep at the end of this meeting.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
All opposed? All right, so that's 0 to 11 failed. And I don't take that personally.
I was most surprised to find out that Peter lives on Peters Drive, but that was just me.
I know it. And he put in the sunset and wants to exempt one from it. It's just so ironic, the whole thing.
I think he actually had language that allowed an exemption to occur. I think it actually is baked into the original.
You could put it in. Yeah.
But it takes away from the irony you're pointing out. So I didn't
Mr. Chairman, if I might, it is now 10:41 Apple time. We have a budget to go through and the remaining article of the stabilization fund. I honestly don't think that in 18 minutes we're going to get through both of those. I could be surprised, but I would probably be surprised enough I'd keel over. So with that, I'm going to ask, since we do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, we have an agenda ready. It's the exact same agenda, because there it is on the other side. I'm going to move that we adjourn for tonight.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All right.
We have 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
That's four.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for watching to everyone at home.